You did it.
I did it. First try. Did it.
We'll find out in a sec if it's worked.
I hope it's worked. If not, I'm streaming this to my channel. Ooh.
Well, the good news is we appear to be.
We did it right.
It's all done right.
We did it
Good
right.
news.
Good job.
There is sad news.
Oh no.
I have no alcohol.
You poor bugger. How are you going to survive?
I've just had a thought.
He's just had an idea.
Thought. Is this at the back of the... Yeah.
Oh, mate, really? Damn. Where did you find that? Is that like in the inside of your PC case? You just got it
I've got a little
stashed.
cupboard stashed. So what I need to do is drink some of this Pepsi.
Did I just hear that fizz? Please tell me that was a fresh can of Pepsi, or that bottle just fizzed, and that bottle should not have just fizzed.
It's a fresh can of Pepsi.
I was going to say, mate, that's not supposed to be
I'm
carbonated.
such a philistine. What I'm doing right now.
For the audio viewers, Ram is pouring what looks like scotch
Whiskey
into a can of
drunk.
Pepsi.
Yeah.
That's all right. I've done that many a time.
Yeah.
Or the other way around. You just take just enough out of a bottle of scotch to pour a can of Coke into. It's like, I've mixed that's fine.
Yeah. That's acceptable.
That's acceptable.
I'll put that because I'm making noise. Good evening, I'm Suffolk Cram.
Skazz.
Welcome to episode 174 of the Van Nerds podcast.
Yay!
Not long now, episode 200 before we know about it.
Yeah, and then we can retire.
No, if we're gonna retire, we've got to be at one of the magic numbers like 256 or 512.
Yeah, let's aim for 512. Let's drag this out.
512. Wait for 512.
What year will we be in 512?
Well, we do approximately 26 episodes a year. So we are currently on episode 174. So
Will we be in an old folks' home by then? Will I be dead by then?
Possibly. So 512 minus 174, 338. Divide that by 26. 13 years.
Excellent. There
So
you go.
yeah, it'll be 2034.
Wow. We're gonna be old. Very
Yeah.
old.
Yeah, we'll forget how technology works by then. What's this newfangled malady? Oh, I can't do my smartphone.
We'll still be using the same gear we're using right
Yeah.
now. It's like, you guys do know that podcasts are delivered in like hologram format now. Like, what? What are you talking about? Where's the pod? Well, it's this capsule. It's in suppository form.
Yeah, it's all just like, yeah, you have like some sort of like embedded microphone into your neck and into your earpiece. It's all like wired into your eardrums, all augmented up. And you just sort of connect it up and just talk, and off you go.
And we're doing it the old-fashioned way.
Yeah, it was good enough in my day.
Back in my day.
I'm not getting some chrome on this. Oh, Skazz are coming for you. Was that at my end? I can't tell with the monitor on.
I think that might have been your end, mate.
Oh, they're coming for me. Shit.
Mate, no one will ever come for me. Ever.
They don't know where you live.
That's
You're
it.
in your hacker den.
Mate, I wish. I've got, like I used to be all tinfoil hat, and I had all my privy phones and my Linux laptops. I ended up going. I've got loads of Windows stuff now, and I'm logged into it, so they're collecting all my datas. I've got a personal phone now with all accounts with my real name on them on all of the social networks now, so they can harvest all my data. They know exactly where I am. They know exactly what I'm doing.
Yep.
They know all my porno preferences, usually Honda CB600 Hornets, but, or a Honda Cub at the moment. I'm really desperately eyeing up a Cub. I really want one.
Honda Cub.
I doubt I'll get one.
No.
But,
No.
we can know. That's why they're fantasies, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, what was I looking at the other day? I was looking at the new Suzuki Jimny commercial version.
The commercial version. What's the difference?
Well, they had to. This is the other this. They launched a new Suzuki Jimny about a couple of years ago. I went and looked at one. If you remember, we were playing Silent Hill 2, and I said, "Oh, I'm going to go drive a Jimny tomorrow."
Mm-hmm.
And off I went. We went and looked at one, and I didn't buy it because I didn't fit in it. because the seat didn't go back far enough.
Oh,
So
okay,
I sat too far forward, so I didn't really fit in it properly. And
I was going to
thought,
say, you're a tall dude.
yeah, and without saying a bit off, Suzuki is a Japanese company, so I think it may have been built slightly to the shorter gentleman.
Well, I was going to say, let's be fair. If you stood next to Godzilla, I mean, I think you'd win that one.
Quite possibly. So I didn't quite fit in it. I said to the guy, I said, I really like the vehicle, but I just know I drive half hour somewhere, 45 minutes somewhere, I'm going to be in so much pain from being such a... I mean, I was a bit sore after like the 15-minute test drive. I said, I really like it, but I just don't fit in it.
Sure.
So then Suzuki, after about, so I think they only had it on for about sort of a year, if that. And then new regulations came in that made that basically said manufacturers across the board, your vehicles have to have this emissions level across the board. And so if your vehicles don't meet those regulations, then you can't sell them. And so other car companies are fine. So like if you're like Ford, for example, you're fine because you produce your little eco boxes, but you can also produce a Ford Ranger, you know, big commercial vehicle. But on average, you balance out.
Sure.
And I think it worked. I think it was across all whole companies. So like people who own like sort of like I can't remember who owns Aston Martin, but like the company owns owns other companies.
No, it's not VW, is it?
No, VW don't own Aston Martin. VW own Skoda, Seat, Volkswagen, obviously, Audi. I think that's
It is under another umbrella company, though, isn't it?
Aston, yeah. Do you know, I think that might be under Ford, actually. Anyway, basically, they get, because obviously all their vehicles are high emissions, but they get around it by, I think, because under the one umbrella company, they get around it, I believe.
Sure.
But Suzuki don't. Suzuki couldn't have those like little loophole for the commercial. So literally, after about a year after it launched, it stopped being sold in this country.
All right.
So that I should have bought one because I think brand new, they're about 17 grand. After about a year, when they stopped making them, they'll go up to like 25, 28 grand.
See, it's another one of those things where we completely missed the boat.
Yeah. If I bought one, I could have sold it for like 10 more than I bought. Not often you buy a used car and make a profit.
You could have sold your car and then maybe bought a graphics card.
Yes, indeed. This is all the pre-graphics card price hike.
Could have bought a timeshare on a graphics card.
Yes, indeed. But they've now brought back the commercial, because it's now a commercial vehicle, they've had to rejig it, and I think it doesn't classify quite the same way, so they've brought it back as the commercial chimney. So I've been looking at one of those, because I'm hoping they may have adjusted the seat a little bit.
I was going to say, the commercial version doesn't have any back seats.
No, it doesn't.
Oh, there you go.
It doesn't. It generally doesn't. It's a two-seater.
Excellent.
The whole back bit's replaced with like this plastic thick pad, so you can put your stuff on it, and you can put like a dead sheep in there. It doesn't matter. It'll be fine.
There you go.
It can leak everywhere, and it'll be fine.
It's wipe clean. Murderer's car.
Exactly. Either that or some sort of pickup. Or I go full redneck on me.
Mate. That'd be fantastic. Do it.
You can imagine me in a... I think I'd suit a pickup.
See, I thought to myself, what if I got myself a Toyota Hilux?
Well, good luck getting one of them.
But no,
They're expensive as hell.
I thought to myself, with my beard, I don't think I'd get away with it. People expect me to drive down the street with an AK-47 in my hand as well.
Yeah, the Americans come in and blow you up.
Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah. The pickups have gone insane prices now. I mean, you can't... Even like... I was looking for them the other day, and even like it's all like 12 grand, which is what I paid for my car. So my car's a 12 plate, and I paid 12 grand for that. I can't pick up... Sorry, tell a lie. My car's a 15 plate. So he's sort of 6 years old. I bought it for 12 grand. The newest pickup I could find, in reasonable condition, was 2009 for that price range.
Ooh, no.
They are insanely expensive now. But then four-wheel drives in general gone up. My car's still worth what I paid for like 2 and a bit years ago.
Which is a terrifying thought, really.
So I was thinking, oh, I might, because I really want to get rid of it. So I don't like it.
Sure.
So I was debating sort of trying to sell it and get rid of it and get some. But then you're sort of in the same boat because I need to replace it with something else similar, and I can't buy anything else similar. So I don't
everything else has gone up in price, and
yeah. Exactly. Everything else has gone up proportionally. So it's like, well, I wouldn't be any better off. I'll probably better just hire and stick it out, and then it's worth something with no finance in it. I'll end up able to have a big deposit on something else.
Yeah, sure. Mental, mate. Mental.
Yeah. Yeah. Sigh.
Yeah.
Sadness.
I know the groove with prices going up. I want to get a boat a couple of months ago.
Aye.
I could have got a boat for. I ain't going to go into the make and model and all that kind of stuff. But let's just say I was going to buy a boat. It was going to be about $2,000. Then went up to 10 grand.
Oof.
And it's now gone back down to 6. And I'm like, I can't.
Yeah. Like a friend of mine acquired a boat a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
He was they were around a this is up north. I won't give the exact location. I don't want to get him in trouble. But we're talking sort of heading towards the border of Scotland way.
Yeah, sure.
Well, that sort of direction. And he was round somebody who owned visiting a local pub, and they basically rented this pub, and they had a boat outside, and he was talking to them about boats. He said, "Oh, that was actually the previous tenants. When they left, they said, 'Do you mind if we leave our boat here for a little while? We'll come get it. We've got nowhere to put it at the moment.'" They said, then the current tenant said, "Yeah, it's fine." And that would have been like 18 months previous.
Mm-hmm.
But at the time, there was like a load of work and stuff going on nearby. And they said, "You know, we really don't like it there. It doesn't look as a bit of an eyesore. It'd be really good if it disappeared."
Oh dear.
So it disappeared.
Oh no.
And by coincidence, my friend at roughly the same time got a new boat.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was fantastic. From what I understand, the previous tenants never came back for it. Never came asking for it.
So as far as they know, it's still there.
Well, the pub's long since closed down since then, so...
Yeah, but they don't know that.
No,
They'll come back in 10 years' time.
Let's go get our boat. The pub's gone. It's been demolished. What?
Where's the
our
boat?
Where's our boat? What would be more fun if they come after 10 years, the pub is demolished, it's now a car park, there's still a boat sat in the corner. That would have been hilarious.
With a parking ticket on it.
Yes. With a parking... No, it would have been caught by one of those parking eyes.
Mate, it would have been sank by the parking tickets.
Yeah. Right. Anyway, we better go on to actual some nerdy
Oh yeah,
stuff.
we're doing a podcast, didn't we? Sorry.
We are. We're not discussing boat acquiring processes and buying second-hand vehicles. So
That's the other podcast.
Yes. So I'm gonna say finally, because we did finally, and it was a blessed relief, to be honest.
Thank fucking God.
We finished Valheim.
Yes.
Yeah. First of all, I want to start before we carry on. I want to say for my sake, thank fuck that I had Skazz and Zaber on hand, who are the grinders, because I would if I'm playing Valheim single player, I would never have finished it.
Seasoned MMO players.
I reckon I would have got as far as probably just till the bit we had to start getting the iron gear,
Oh yeah.
and
Yeah.
I would have tapped out, because
Sure.
that's where to me it got silly.
Yeah.
That's where it got grindy for grindiness sake.
Yeah.
So for those of you who maybe missed our previous podcast, or perhaps you're a new listener, we may get a new listener occasionally.
Never.
Valheim is sort of an MMO style, but it's not really MMO because it's not massively multiplayer. I think, was it 20 players max you can have per server?
10 or 20, I think.
Yeah, it's not a lot, is it?
No.
And it's set sort of in like the sort of weird afterlife sort of purgatory type place called Valheim.
Mm-hmm.
And you are Viking warriors who died bravely on the battlefield, didn't make it home, and Odin goes, "Hey, you dead guys, you must be good fighters. Come over to Valheim."
Got a job for you, son.
Yeah, and you have to,
mate.
yeah, and you basically have to sort of kill 5. They're called Forsaken, I think they're called.
Yes.
And defeat them, get their trophies, and that's about it.
It's not finished yet.
No, it's not finished. Is it still in a pre-alpha phase at the moment?
So I looked at the items we got for beating the end boss. They're not labelled. They're placeholders.
Really?
It actually says placeholder.
Well, blimey, so they must be sort of... I can't remember what version they are. Are they actually on version 1 yet, I wonder?
I have no idea.
I have actually uninstalled it now, so
I uninstalled it, and then within about 3 days, my kids were like, "Hey, should we play some Valheim?" And I was like, "No."
yeah, it's still early access.
Sure.
So it's still an early access game, which means they can add more stuff. 2 to 10 players, yeah.
There you go.
The co-op PVE. Recommended playing co-op with 3 to 5. So we were in the recommended range.
I was going to say, I agree, because soloing a lot of that stuff is a fucking nightmare.
Yeah. I suspect, however, that Iron Gate have done quite well out of Valheim. Given that it's got nearly 250,000 positive reviews.
Wow.
Yeah, that's yeah. I think they've done quite well.
For sure. Damn.
Yeah. So, I mean, you can probably talk more about how similar it is to MMO style game, because I've not played MMOs, but you've played quite a few.
Well, I mean, frankly, it isn't, because, I mean, on the grounds that, other than the grind itself, realistically, there's no real questing in it. You know, you're told that at the start of the game, you're told you have to go and fight the Forsaken to gather their trophies to do some fluff for Odin. And right at the starter zone, there is a rune even, that you can check, and it will point you out to where the first boss is, first of 5. And after that, you are on your own. The world is procedurally generated, and you have to look for all of the other bosses after the first one.
Yeah.
So you'll you'll start in the meadows, which is your beginner area. And then as you get towards the edge of the procedurally generated meadows, you might find yourself in the dark forest. Then you have to find another rune to mark the location of the next boss, the next closest boss to you. If you're in the dark forest, that'll be the Elder. If you're in the swamps, which is the next biome after dark forest, that'll be Bone Mass.
Bone Mass. I think it does change slightly, because I think as you get told where the first boss is, the second boss, I'm pretty sure the runes appear that you have to go in these little crypts, don't you, to get the gear.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the rune you need to find the boss appears in a lot of those crypts. So you've pretty got a good chance of finding it. But as you get further along, the runes sort of get very rare.
Yeah.
So you might have a whole biome section which hasn't got the bit unit you need to find the boss.
Yes, because sometimes, I mean, you could literally have a biome that is a slither on the edge of a coast, surrounded by all of the other biomes. As an example, one of the first times I went to the plains, which is the final biome in the game, it was like literally probably I could sprint across it before I went to swamp again. Like on either side, there was nothing there for me to do. No villages, just occasionally plains level monsters would spawn on this little kind of area of the plains. Same with some mountains. Like there was like a mountain had spawned in the middle of a plain biome, and it was probably a stone's throw. And there were no dungeons or crypts or anything like that in there for you to check. It just spawned in. So because they're procedurally generated, every single time you play, it's going to be a bit different. You know, the map is going to be different, the layout's going to be different. You're not going to be able to just, look at someone else's playthrough and figure out where you need to go. You have to explore, which can take some time. And if you end up if you're in an unlucky situation like where we were a few times, you might end up in an area where you don't get any materials, because as you progress, you need to farm items and materials to be able to upgrade your base. To then be able to, once you level that up, you can make better gear, which will then allow you to take more damage, take on stronger enemies, and then go and fight the next boss, which will then unlock more like plans and things to allow you to then make more gear. So you have to grind more materials. But there were a few instances where some things just didn't spawn for us. In fact, there is actually a shopkeeper in Valheim, Ram.
Yeah, I've heard about him.
On our server, and I travelled a lot on our server.
You did.
He wasn't there. So he must be outside of where I've explored. However, for anything I needed to get from the shopkeeper, my son found him in his first Dark Forest biome. So I just ended up logging onto my son's server to go to the shopkeeper to buy what I needed, and then came back to our server.
Your gear sits with your character.
Yes.
Unless you put it in a box somewhere. Whatever your character's carrying will move between servers.
Your gear and your inventory stay with your character. So you can carry things between realms, servers, or whatever. So if, for example, Ram made a new server and I was already in, say, padded armor, I would already be near enough max level for that server. However, it should be noted that if I took that gear into a new server and that person's base or whatever wasn't a sufficient level, I wouldn't be able to repair my equipment.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know the repairing was limited by your base level.
I believe so, because in certain cases, that might be completely out there, but I'm sure that when I went to my son's server and I tried to repair some of my gear, only the stuff that he was leveled up high enough to repair or build was being repaired.
Oh, interesting.
So
it makes sense.
Yeah.
I could believe that being there, but I never thought I tried it, because I'm sure I've repaired gear like it's just a workbench and just repaired everything up, but perhaps
cloth stuff I would imagine you can just do anywhere, but I think, and someone just please correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that if you're not a high enough level at a forge or whatever, you can't repair it, because there are a lot of other sub things that, so because like to upgrade your workbench you needed, so like the workbench is just like a crafting table, and then you would have to get like a tannin rack, like a tools rack, and you'd have to put those within the vicinity of the workbench, and that would level up the workbench. You know, a chopping block and stuff like that. For a forge, you'd need like bellows and anvils and tool racks and all this stuff. So if you don't have that stuff, I could imagine that they wouldn't let you repair anything that required stuff.
No.
To make it.
I quite like that system actually, where you're upgrade. You don't need, because most games it would have been go to the workbench and you just upgrade it.
Yes.
So I like the system whereby you build things, upgrade the bench, which means if it does get attacked, you'll lose now, but you won't have to if you have one workbench that's like fully upgraded, gets a tan destroyed, you're back to square one. Whereas if your tanning rack gets destroyed, well, you've not got to rebuild everything.
Yeah. To
do it. I notice it feels nicer. It feels less gamey.
Well, yeah, because that's what you'd have to do. You wouldn't make everything at a tanning rack. I wouldn't forge iron on a wooden, carpenter's bench. That'd just be dumb. I'd want to take it to the anvil and all that kind of stuff. So it makes sense, and it's nice because it makes the world feel, as you say, a bit more real, a little bit more feasible. Yes. But yeah, so I guess that's kind of the basics of it. You are very much blind in Valheim. It doesn't hold your hand in it at all.
No.
And you don't actually know how to make items until you find the relevant materials. So as you pick up materials, like you pick up seeds or whatever, it will then go, hey, you can use this to make whatever the next thing is. Some materials are only dropped by bosses. Yeah. So like you can't get into crypts. Are they crypts? The ones in the swamp?
Yeah. Yeah, it's crypts, isn't it?
I think so. You can't get into those until you beat the Elder.
Yes.
Because the Elder gives you a key. If you don't have that key, you don't. If you don't have that key in your inventory, you don't get into crypts in the swamp. If you don't have, say, an item that is dropped by the dragon, I can't remember what the dragon's called.
Those Morda.
Yeah.
Something like that. Moda, something like that. Modem.
Once you get an item dropped from that, then you can upgrade your crafting bench. But if you don't upgrade that crafting bench and beat that boss, you can't upgrade your base any further than you were before. So they put hard walls in front of you to stop you from being completely overpowered. for like the next boss. Although that didn't entirely work when we did the live stream of the dragon fight, because I'd already soloed the dragon, leveled up my gear, and then when we did it on stream, steamrolled the cunt.
Yeah, yeah. It is one of those games where you get insanely powerful. You don't. It doesn't look on paper, but when you actually get to the end, you don't realize how powerful. Because at the very end, we went back and did the first boss again.
Mm-hmm.
That boss lasted. So the first one we played, I think, it took us about 3 minutes to defeat it. It wasn't a hard boss, but it took a little bit of time. The last time we played it, when we just decided to have a go at it, it took us 9 seconds.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, I timed it literally from before it was born. It literally his health just disappeared. And as on paper, the damage does go up, but it doesn't seem to go up that much. But I think you get bonuses and stuff from your other levels and stuff as well. So we just did insane damage to it.
Well, it's like Zaber and I took on the Elder, and you remember the nightmare we had when we first took on the Elder, because we were under-geared when we took on the Elder.
Yeah.
Because, again, the game doesn't exactly hold your hand. It doesn't tell you what you're going to need until you get steamrolled by a boss.
Yeah.
So I mean, I didn't even realise that we could have made a forge by the time we got to the Elder, but apparently that was the next thing we could. I thought we got the forge after we beat the Elder.
Yeah.
And I was totally wrong, because the Elder steamrolled us. Anyway, Zaber and I go back against the Elder later on, and we just ran at him. Instead of kiting him and taking him out with bows and arrows, we just ran at him and just wailed on him with axes. And went down it was nothing. He could hit us full force in the face, and nothing happened.
Yeah.
It was absolutely fantastic. So, the stats, whilst they don't seem to be, like, the increases between one set of armor and the next don't seem to be that high. Just even a few points can make a whole lot of difference.
Yeah. It does make a difference.
Now, the game is absolutely beautiful, in my opinion. The character model's a bit PS2-y. The whole world is kind of PS2-y graphics-wise, but the lighting in that game is... Oh my god, the lighting absolutely tanks graphics cards. But it's beautiful. It's not ray traced, but my gods, it may as well be. Shows you how good we are at faking lighting.
Yeah. I think actually lighting is the big thing actually that makes games look pretty. Decent lighting actually really set off a game.
Yes.
And you can have a very poor, Valheim's person, as you say, Valheim, if you just look at a screenshot of it, it looks pretty crap.
Yep.
As you say, you'd think it was an early PlayStation 2 game. But when it's actually in play and the reflections and stuff, it just looks beautiful the whole time. It just shows that you don't have to be super high-end, posh graphics to make a game look good.
Yeah, like hyper-realistic. So, I mean, the character models literally do look like something that came from the PS2 era. But as soon as you start seeing shadow maps and all that kind of stuff on it, they look fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. The weather effects and things are absolutely amazing. Water effects, absolutely amazing. When fog rolls in, fucking gorgeous.
I absolutely love sailing. I just love the sea, and the effects of the water was so nicely done, and I just love just floating about in a boat.
Sound was pretty good too.
Yeah, sounds very good.
But yeah, it's all in. Good game. However, because Ram did say, look, how is it like an MMO? The grind is like an MMO, but realistically, not a lot else is. Gameplay-wise, if you've played an action MMORPG, so you don't go through menus and stuff. Like WoW. Realistically, as long as you're facing the thing you want to hit and you press a skill, it hits. Yeah. There's a dice roll and it hits. In action RPGs, you have to be facing it, and your weapon's hitbox has to hit the enemy's hurt box, I suppose.
That's one thing I know as well. I was talking to my sister, who's watching, and she said she knows about between you and Zaber and me. It's very telling that you and Zaber have obviously played a lot more games like that than I have. Because you go in and do something, I try and I don't die. Sure. I'm not sure what I was doing wrong. I just couldn't get the rhythm down. And it just is telling you. So you can just tell that you guys have played more games like that. You can just tell.
Admittedly, when we first played, I mean, I hated the dodge mechanic. I mean, the dodge, it's not a bad dodge mechanic, just getting my head into it that I had to hit the guard button, side strafe, hit space. It was just a little awkward to get around. But once you get that dodge down, I mean, you can steamroll stuff. with very little trouble at all. You just have to kite the enemy until they swing. They then have a recovery animation if they miss. You run in and just wail on it and just rinse and repeat. Zaber was literally counting swings on some of the higher enemies. He's like, right, that's going to do 3. And then after 3, it's going to go into like some kind of recovery animation. Then you get in there, wail on it for a few hits. It'll then recover. It'll go for like maybe 3 more. Get behind it, do it again, and that's kind of where we went with it.
Yeah.
It's a lot more action MMORPG than standard MMORPG, but because it doesn't really have quests or anything, it's just literally find these 5 bosses and beat them.
Yeah.
It's I guess.
And to be fair, that takes up a lot of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The hardest part about the game is literally grinding materials for upgrading armor and your base.
Yeah. That gets a bit excessive after a while. We were okay with like doing bronze stuff and stuff because it's like, oh, you had to get because it's like, okay, you need bronze to make this. Well, to get bronze, you need to get
that was tin and copper.
Tin and copper, but you need like 2 copper to 1 tin. Then that makes a bronze. And you need to do you need 10 of those to like make any piece of armor or gear. So you're looking at 20 copper and 10 tin, just to make basic level gear, and then to upgrade it all, you need that all again. So you're looking like 100 copper, and 150 tin just to upgrade one piece of gear up to full.
Mm-hmm.
And it gets a little bit insane. And once you got to the iron stage, admittedly there's a lot of iron in those crypts, but just getting it and using like 20 bits, it's just got.
So because you've got a weight limit. You've obviously got inventory space limits and you've got a weight limit. Now you can increase your weight limit and your inventory size if we had access to a shop, which we didn't. Not on our server. So that made things a bit of a pain in the ass. So you could only carry so much, and obviously ore is going to weigh a lot, so you can't carry a huge amount of that before you're over encumbered. If you're over encumbered, your stamina runs out, you can't defend, you get wrecked. So the issue that we had, that I had mostly, was that if I was farming ore for the lads, I couldn't carry a huge amount of it. And so I would have to, and because you can't, so in Valheim you can teleport to fast travel, but rare items, rare materials like ore and stuff like that can't be teleported.
Yeah.
So I can teleport to a place where I can get the ore, but I would then have to, once I've got the ore, I can no longer teleport, so I then have to run all the way back to my base to be able to store it or work on it. And that was a fucking nightmare solo, because I had to carry enough stuff to be prepped to be able to defend myself. And I might only be able to carry, I'm just pulling a number out of my ass here, like 10 or 15 pieces of ore before I then have to leave, spend 5 minutes running back, 10 minutes running back, put it in a box, leg it back to the base, or leg it back to the temple or whatever, the crypt, fight more stuff, get more ore, run back, or maybe telly back the next time, go back. It was oh my god, sometimes it was absolutely excruciating. Once you started to get stuff for yourself, it wasn't so bad, but then knowing that even though I've got better gear now, I still have to do this like 2 more times, and maybe more for spares, was painful.
Yeah.
And the crypt wasn't very good for me because I was shade blind, so I couldn't see a lot of the stuff in the crypt.
Yeah, and naturally, there's a lot of melt in those crypts once you actually look for it.
Yeah.
Also, I think that there are ways to transport more stuff, so you can make a cart which you can put stuff in and transport it, but realistically, that's a pain in the arse to move, and the enemies attack it.
Yes.
So it's only really practical in a fairly safe area if you're being escorted.
Yes.
Likewise, boats can transport stuff, but obviously it doesn't help if you're not near anything. If anything attacks you and sinks your boat, you're rather fucked.
And I've lost many a boat in Valheim trying to get gear for you guys.
Yeah.
Because I was going to surprise you with a Viking longboat, and then it got smashed to shit.
Yeah.
When I moored up on the plains, and just goblins ran into the water and wailed on it until it fell apart. or Fallings or whatever they were called.
Yeah.
It was an absolute.
They're goblins.
Yeah, it's an absolute nightmare to
It doesn't
solo.
let up. It doesn't let up.
You're not supposed to solo it. If you were with your mates, it would have been so much quicker and so much easier because you could have literally said, right, all three of us. Because when we did the bronze stuff, so getting the copper and the tin, that wasn't so bad because you and Zaber could carry the gear and I could defend you.
Yeah.
And when we all got together to go into the crypts, because I left a load of the crypts near our base clear, I went off to find another swamp biome, so I didn't ruin the stream. But fuck me, when we were all together, it was quick and relatively painless because we could then carry more gear, and there were more of us around to defend.
Yeah.
But solo, it was agony.
Yeah.
But again, it's not really. You can play it solo, but it's not supposed to be played solo. The grind is a bit much.
Yeah, I think it's a bit. As it never lets up. There's no. In a lot of these games, there's always that little bit of, "Oh, go on, then we'll let you off that. We won't do that to you." But this one, nothing lets up. You know, every time something goes wrong, you are punished for it. So when you die, you're back to square one.
Yeah.
And if you die and you're in the mountains, you're really fucked.
Yes, as I found, because so when you die, you drop every piece of equipment in your inventory and you respawn at your last bed or base that you were at, that you set your spawn point at, and you will be completely butt naked.
You've got
no
a little pair
gear
of panties on.
at all. But that has an armor rating of get fucked.
0. Yeah.
So, you know, it's not like, you know, Korean MMOs and Chinese MMOs where the less gear you're wearing, the more skin showing, the higher rate in that armor. Yeah. No, mate. In Valheim...
that's cause we made no female characters.
Oh, well, there you go. That's where we screwed up. That's where we screwed up.
We know it's it's inversely proportional.
I was going to say, if I had my boobage showing, I'd have had unlimited ammo. So armor even.
Yeah.
But
I mean, you do move very quickly when you've got no armor. So actually, you can, in most of the areas, you can just leg it and get it. Even up to sort of the swamp, you know, you can leg it and get it if you're quick and sort of like have a little bit of attention on what you're doing. You can get there and you can grab your gear.
I would say the swamp is the last place you can do that because the mountains then give you environment damage too.
Yes.
So if you don't have frost resistance potions or the relevant armor to negate frost damage, you are fucking dead.
And if something spots you, like a wolf, you really are fucked as well.
Well, even if you're wearing gear and a wolf spots you, if a group of wolves spot you and like one of them is like a leveled up like 1 or 2-star wolf, you're done. It will just steamroll you in no time flat.
Yeah.
Which is oh my god. I let me put it this way, if it weren't for Zaber, we would have finished in the mountains. I made a second base for us all, and I ended up going up the mountains that were right next to our base. And I didn't have all of the frost potions and that. I'd used them all. I didn't have any more mats to make any more. I got killed up at the top, the highest point of the mountain. I got killed. I didn't realize it was the highest point of the mountain. And as I then go back up to the mountain to get my gear, I get killed again. So I lose. On the map, you then get a death marker. But it will only list one of them.
Yep.
So I then lost my corpse marker with all of my gear.
Yeah.
And it was my high level gear. So I had no idea where to go. And I raged.
Yeah.
I went up the mountain a couple more times and got steamrolled within minutes. And I said to Zaber, I can't fucking do this anymore, dude. I just can't handle it. I was getting so angry. I just wanted to stop. So Zaber actually said, no, mate, that's all right. It's all right. I've got another half an hour. I'll come in game. And we'll see if we can find your gear. And thankfully, I found my equipment. But if Zaber hadn't come in, I'd have been shit out of luck.
Yeah, because when you do get reset back to square one, it's not like... let's compare it to, say, Green Hell. In Green Hell, when you died, you lost some of your gear got despawned, but similar thing, your gear drops where you are, and you're back to square zero. However, getting new gear is fairly quick. You can pretty quickly get yourself an axe, a bow, arrows fairly quickly,
Yes.
and you're back to some degree. And then you can go look. Then you can quickly build some replacement gear, and off you go and find your existing gear, perhaps all the more unusual bits.
Yes.
So it's not quite a punishment. You just got a bit of 3 minutes of sort of spending time getting ready to go. Whereas this one, you are absolutely screwed. Particularly if you die on the plains, say, or as you say, the mountain, you are absolutely screwed. There's no sort of really easy way to recover, and it wouldn't surprise me if that makes there's probably a fair amount of players, particularly if you're solo.
Yeah.
That must be a fair amount of players who just say, "Fuck it, I'm not doing it anymore."
Well, I mean, I helped you guys gear up. And you and Zaber got fucking murdered. And your first time in the plains, I didn't give you higher level armor, because by the time you guys got to the plains, I already had maxed out gear. But you guys ran in there and got fucking steamrolled.
Yeah, it was little flying things. The goblins weren't too bad. I found the goblins fair. Goblins, you could sort of like back off and sort of kite them. I found them fairly straightforward. It was all the little fly things because they're faster than you.
Yes,
So
they're weak as hell, but when they get to you, they do quite a bit of damage.
Yeah, and if you get like Paul Zaber had like sort of 3 of them on him, he was screwed. There's a lot of times where like I'm just screwed now. I might as well just die.
Yeah,
there's a lot of that happening. So I do think it needs a little bit of rebalancing.
Yeah, because the damage curves when you have no gear are huge.
Yeah.
So as you say, like if you were to then go from 3rd tier gear back down to level 1, no gear, you are screwed. A wolf will one-shot you.
Yeah.
A goblin will one-shot you. A troll will one-shot you. You are expected to have that higher level gear to be in those zones. If you haven't got decent armor, don't go in the plains. Just don't. If you don't have frost resistance, don't go up a mountain. Just don't do it, because you're not going to live. The game is brutal if you're not geared for it.
Yeah. I mean, 7 days to die, that's a similar idea. When you die, you drop your gear, you have to go retrieve it, and that also will punish you because if you're in a cold area, you do take damage. However, it takes a long time to die, even if you've got nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a fairly good chance of getting and crafting gear to just keep you alive. You've got a fairly good chance of getting it there to get there and grab it. So you're not totally against it, but I say certain areas you just are really, you might as well either you need to stock up so much gear, to take your time, stock up a load of shit first, ready in case you do die. You've got a whole set of spare. Maybe what you should do is when you respawn, it should almost like have like sort of a milestone point as you sort of get to a certain level of gear. That's all milestones. Like, okay, now when you respawn, you'll have this basic level gear, and as time goes on, that's sort of that. So you're not put straight back in the top, but you put like at least a fighting chance.
Sure.
So perhaps when you've got like level 4 gear of like iron, if you die, you'll get the like level 1 of let's say level 1 iron, but only once you've got to level 4 gear, you unlock it, as it were.
I don't think that's really necessary. I mean, on the grounds that realistically, I shouldn't have been playing solo.
No.
Because as soon as you guys were around, I had no trouble at all. It was easy mode. It was a cakewalk with a couple of other players there. Valheim wasn't difficult at all. Solo, though, was painful.
Yeah.
Absolutely excruciating at times to go through certain zones.
And when you bear in mind that the gear, what you need to unlock the gear doesn't change depending on how many players you are, that is actually how it would be if you were playing. So it wasn't like the bosses, where the bosses' health, I think, does change slightly depending on the players on the server, I believe.
I've been told they slightly scale, yeah.
Yeah. But your gear crafting requirements don't.
No.
So it's definitely one that will get gear-wise, at least will be easier. Actually, the more of you're doing it, it's easier.
Yeah. I mean, because think about it. If we all went into crypts and we could all carry 15 pieces of iron scrap, we could have made that armor in no time flat.
Yeah.
But because there was only one of us, and you know, it's there, back, there, back, there, back, there, back. 15, as opposed to, you know, 3, 4 of us dragging back 15 pieces of each time. It makes a huge difference. I mean, Valheim would not be my most played game on Steam if it weren't for the fact I was playing it fucking solo.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I enjoyed Valheim.
Yes.
But I was not upset to get to that last bit.
Yes.
I was not upset to kill the boss and go, right, we're done now. I can draw a line underneath it. Goodbye, Valheim. Uninstall. Job done.
Same to a degree. I mean, Zaber also said he very much enjoys Valheim. He thinks it's a brilliant game. It's hard. There's a bit of a challenge there at certain points. You know, it's not a game that just hands things to you on a plate. However, if it's just you playing, it's tedious. Yeah. It's painful. But then that's the same as an MMO in that case. If you're playing solo in an MMO, it's going to drag the fuck on. Whereas if you're playing with a group, you can steamroll entire areas with no trouble at all.
It's very much a game of what I would say. It's very much a game of you and your mates go on every night for a couple, 2-3 hours every night.
Yeah.
Type. That's really what it's aimed for. Like an MMO. Mm-hmm. It's not designed for people such as myself who have to have like a spare hour here and there. They can fit it sometime to play a game and maybe get an afternoon here and there.
Yeah.
It wouldn't suit. That would have took me a year probably to get through Valheim if I was by myself. Mm-hmm. Well, I doubt I wouldn't get that far. I'd give up.
Sure.
I know. I would just like, I can't be fucked with this anymore. All it would take is me getting like some basic level, sort of like, say, all iron gear. Yeah, I've got some iron gear. Then getting killed, I think, oh fuck it, I can't be arsed anymore.
Yeah,
that's where I think.
I felt that a lot.
Yeah,
a lot. Like I said, if it weren't for Zaber, I would have hands down. I'd have just stopped. He helped a lot doing some of the stuff in the swamps, especially when it came to the mountains. I mean, fuck, Zaber, he carried me through part of that. If he hadn't helped me get that gear back, I would have just rage quit and uninstalled the game and told you to shove it up your ass. I was not going to do that.
Yeah. And I wouldn't have blamed you if you had.
Because that game, at points, is a nightmare. When you're in a fight, it's exciting. The pacing's pretty solid. Everything looks great. You know, learn the patterns, to take down the bosses and that. As long as you're well prepared, it's pretty good. But fucking hell, mistakes are punished.
Yeah,
hardcore.
The amount of prep work, the ratio of prep work to boss fighting time is very high.
Yes.
You know, for how long it takes you to defeat a boss to how many hours you spend prepping for it.
But then again, it wouldn't be many. Like, let's be fair. If you take my 100+ hours, and then you say if there was 3 of us, just say it would take a third of the time, then it wouldn't have been that much prep work. But because we were literally, I would play a bit, Zaber would play a bit. You'd hop on when you can.
Didn't Zaber push into the best part? Didn't he not put in the best part of 100 hours as well himself?
No. Let me have a look. I'm going to look. So 1 second. The listeners. So let's go to Zaber's profile if I can. Zaber put in 57 hours into Valheim, and I put in. I'm pretty sure I put in something to the effect of about 110.
I put in 33 and a half.
Yeah, so let's have a look. All games. Yeah, you can come on, Steam, you can handle this. This isn't too hard. I'm just asking you to load a page. There we go. Valheim, 112 hours.
Okay, so you're 112. I'm 33.5, and say was 50.
Was it not 50? 57.
54? 57. 202 hours between all 3. Now, admittedly, you've got to take the fact that, as you say, you're more likely to die by yourself than if you are with other people. You know, you spend less recovery time. But you're probably looking at, so that divides by 367 hours total. But I reckon with 3 people, it'll be less than that.
Yeah.
I reckon probably about 50 hours. I mean, you've lost
I
70.
reckon you could. I reckon you could do that. You could do that even quicker. To be honest.
Yeah.
I
Depends
really
what's
do
on.
reckon you could do it between 30 and between 30 and 50.
Yeah.
In honesty, if you had 3 or more people regularly, it would be no problem.
Yeah.
The grind isn't a grind if you have a group to play with. That must be
No.
made clear. Nothing in the game is as hard with more people in it than if it's solo, which should make sense. It's relative.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're just speaking at it from a perspective as a group who it was largely soloed.
It is a game that if you really do need to have some mates to play it with,
Yes.
rather than it's not really a single player game. It's
No.
not intended to be a single player game. I don't think
No.
it is
No.
definitely meant to sort of it's that MMO style, raid style.
Yeah.
Player base.
Pretty much.
Yeah. But yeah, I enjoy it. I did actually enjoy it. But glad it's gone.
I mean, combat's pretty satisfying. The building mechanics are pretty satisfying as well. Because as I say, you have
Oh,
to build your base
fantastic.
in that. You know, because you can't just have things float in midair. Because you know, physics is a thing in that game. So you have to put in like support struts and foundations and that for your buildings. And you know, you can die from smoke inhalation in that game too, which is fun. So you know, if you just decide to whap a fire in a cave and you're stuck in the cave, you're going to die because you're stood right next to a fire. Loads and loads of neat little things that make the game really interesting. Mechanically, it's sound.
Yeah.
Content wise, though, it could do with a bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. It's solid. I won't be putting in another 100 odd hours though.
No. Unless your children come along and say, Dad.
Well, I have played it since with the kids, but obviously because I'm such a high level already, or my equipment is already there, we are literally just running in and steamrolling stuff. We ran up to the elder and I just punched it in the dick. I punched it full force in its twig and it went down faster than a cheap hooker. So, you know, and my son was like, oh, I thought you said this was hard. I was like, yeah, it was hard when I was your level, goddammit. So,
You don't know you're born.
So fucking...
You don't know you're born, youngster.
Fucking back in my day.
My day, we only had wooden gear.
That was about right near enough. We were whacking this twig with stones. Because he said, yeah, but I thought I was going to die. I was like, yeah, but you're wearing iron equipment. Because I'd already fast-tracked him with some iron gear, some of our spare iron equipment. And I was like, yeah, you're not supposed to get that stuff until the boss after this one. So he's not going to be doing a huge amount of damage because your stats are higher than it can than the damage he can output. But you know, it is fun. It looks beautiful. The atmosphere's all there. The building's pretty solid. I just kind of wish I weren't soloing it.
Yeah.
Don't solo it.
No.
Unless you're an absolute fucking psycho. Don't solo it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Valheim, good game.
Cool. So I've been playing a horror game. I play a game called Husk.
Oh, I've heard of that one.
Yeah, so I picked up years ago in a Steam sale. You know, it's gone into a silly price. I just picked up. Thought, oh, it's interesting. It's all like a survivor horror type game, and and I picked it up, and I didn't really look too much at it. And then I remember a little while ago looking at the playing, so I looked and I thought I'd have a little look on the store page before, and it had absolutely horrendous reviews. It was like 24% positive reviews, something horrendous like that.
Mm-hmm.
Really getting hammering. I thought, wow, it's going to be a really bad game. So I finally got around to thought, do you know, I'm going to give it a go. It looks awful. It's meant to be really bad. I thought, I'll give it a go. So I was prepared for it to be pretty awful. So I picked it up and sort of installed it. It's about like 4 or 5 hours of gameplay. And it's designed to sort of hark back to sort of Silent Hill style. It's first person, but sort of trying to sort of hark back to sort of Silent Hill type atmosphere, you know, sort of psychological horror with monsters, and you have like some basic defenses against them, but you're not like it's not like sort of like full on sort of, the Resident Evils like full on shooter type Resident Evils compared to the more survival horror Resident Evil. It's more like that sort of side of the scale.
Yeah.
So I went into it thinking it's going to be bad, and actually I think it's been slightly unfairly knocked down. It is not. It's not. It's not a fantastic AAA, 90% scoring game, but it's not horrendous either. I mean, this was made by a little indie game, team of 5 people. This is their first game, and looks like their only game because their last update on their Facebook page was 2017.
Oh.
So it looks like that might have been finished them off.
The trolling might have been a bit strong on that one.
Yeah. Well, they started in 2014. They released this in 2017. And they then posted a little bit through 2017, then stopped. And the website's gone. And so I suspect they probably put a lot into this. And then after 3 years of development, it got a kicking. I mean, I say it got kicking. It's only got 100 reviews on Steam. So it's not particularly. It's not. I don't think it did particularly well for them. I think part of that is the cost. They're charging 16 quid for it, which I think is extortionate.
Right.
For this sort of game, if you got to accept that you're not a sort of safe scale. If they charged all 8 or 9 quid for it, probably reasonable. But when you're charging 16 quid, that's actually quite steep for an indie girl horror game. It's actually quite steep, and I think that might have been part of the problem.
Sure.
So it's a horror game. Starts off, you're on a train, and you're with your family. Your husband, mother, and your wife's there. Your daughter's there. She wants to go to the saloon. Wife says, "Oh, cannot wait till we get there." And it's like, guys, you're on a train. It's not like an airplane where it's going to come into landing. You need to wait till you land, or you're in a car. You can't just go whenever you want. So they spot, and then
on your seat.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's how it works on British Rail, isn't it?
Pretty much. That's what it smells like, anyway.
Yeah.
Even on the new trains.
Yeah. A bit on Anglia. It's fine. And then you sort of start in the train carriage, you sort of walk up, there's nobody around.
Mm-hmm.
It's just an empty carriage. You walk down and you sort of end up sort of flipping a few switches or getting some lights going through this empty train, no one else around. And all of a sudden, there's a massive crash and screech and the train crashes. Oh, this has got some fantastic writing in it. Your antagonist, upon seeing the ruined train, goes, "Oh no, an accident."
Oh no, you must have had brain damage after that one.
Yeah. There's another bit later on where you find a leaflet about the town. It says, "The town was founded by some men."
Was it?
It's like you couldn't even make up a name. You couldn't just randomly just go onto random name generator and just make up a name.
That town was founded by J.R.R. Tolkien. Yeah, start mixing and matching stuff. And Neil Pratchett.
Yeah.
Terry Gaiman.
Yes, indeed.
There you go.
Indeed.
Completely original. Now, that's all you had to do.
Yeah. OG character, don't steal.
Hang on. Antlion Sounds. No, that's too close to what it actually was. Sony Xbox. Nailed it.
Yep.
That's how you make names.
Box. Yeah. Just random names. Just put names out of a hat.
Greek character. No, but a Japanese character. Panasonic.
Yeah.
Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
Or
Panasonic.
What's the I can't remember what the book's called. Snow Crash. I can't remember who writes Snow Crash. His main character is literally hero protagonist. Brilliant name.
Fantastic.
That's all it takes.
Fantastic.
Nailed it. First try.
So you go through. So you decide, I need to go to the hospital to find my wife and daughter. So you start to at hospital. That's basically the entire of the game is go to the hospital.
Well, yeah, you've just been in a train crash. I wouldn't choose to go to a fucking hospital. I would hope that someone would take me to the hospital.
That's where his wife and daughter is, he thinks, you see. So I was going to see them, make sure they're okay.
Okay.
So you basically have to work your way, and you basically work your way through the
Did
town.
you just think maybe they're dead in the wreckage?
Well, Which he says he's got a hope. He's got a hope. You can,
Could you
always have a little
imagine
bit
that?
of hope.
It's like his kid's like, Daddy, no, and just like in the wreckage.
As he sees him legging off towards the hospital. I'm still here, Dad.
Oh man, I miss them so much. I can just hear them. I can
Yeah.
almost hear them. It's like, yeah, they're still there, mate. On fire.
Oh, their cries and screams of help torment me every moment of the day. They're literally over there, mate. Every moment of the day, their cries torment me. So you go to the hospital and you basically have to make your way over town. It's a fairly linear game. I will say the level design's pretty nice. They've done a really good job actually. The town does feel like a big old place. They've really gone to sometimes when you get these all indie games and their maps, you know that they're made by like a couple of people. They've done their best, but there's only so much you can do when you're like two people.
So it's not quite walking simulator-esque, but it's not quite the Insane Asylum one we did. Outlast?
Yeah, Outlast. Yeah, this
That
is better
was
than Outlast.
fucking terrible.
I'm putting aside. This game is better than Outlast.
Which isn't hard.
No, I don't care. People say Outlast is a terrible game. This game is far better than Outlast.
I mean, let's be fair.
By a long shot.
The maps in Outlast were like, baby's first map.
They actually have their color palette must have had more than shades of brown on it.
Really?
Yes, as we know, Outlast was like they've only got shaded brown. They can't do anything else. They actually have other colors there, and you actually go to other places because you basically, as you work your way up to the hospital, you basically work your way through different places. So there'll be like a petrol station or gas station, I should say.
My kids aren't in the hospital. Fuck it. They must be at the petrol station to fill up the train.
Well, you go to the gas station because you need to, and you find a flashlight, which is handy because you can switch it on. As you go through there, your tools you find do gradually break, so that the flashlight runs out of battery fairly quickly, so you can't use it anymore. You find a little like metal pipe that you can volley on enemies with, but that breaks after a while. You hit something, it snaps, so it becomes useless.
I'm pretty sure if I club someone in the head with a steel pipe, that pipe's going to last a while.
Yeah, but you have to use the break locks, you see, and he breaks the lock. When he hits it and smashes the lock, the pipe breaks. So,
that's a pretty shit pipe and a very strong lock.
It might be rusted. It could be both.
Meh.
A very rusty pipe and a very strong lock.
And a brand spanking new lock, fresh out of the pack.
Yeah. But it does break, so it must be a master lock. So you come across enemies. It says, "Oh, you must sneak past the enemies," and you can sneak past them. Phase, it's largely sort of like they're not very bright. I mean, people criticise the enemies there, but having said that, play the original Silent Hills. The enemy AI is see person, run at them. That is the AI of this. So this isn't any different.
It's about right.
At least you can actually sneak past these guys. They have a certain degree of you can actually sort of somewhat sneak past them. What's quite amusing is they've clearly got like little areas that they will patrol in. And if you get out the area, they're like, "Oh, then I'll go back to where I was then."
So where's he gone?
Yeah, he's gone around that corner. But that's not my section. These are the most anal enemies ever. They are like, nope, I am only guarding or only killing well at anybody in this area here. They leave. Tough. I'm going back. I'm not paid to go out in this area.
Gonna sound
that's
like a right
Jeff's
dick
problem.
Here. Gonna sound like a dick.
That's Jeff's area. I don't want to infringe on him.
Well, clearly not, because Jeff's a good guy and he needs work to be able to feed his children.
Yeah, he's a good mutant.
However, I reckon these mutants again sound like a bit of a dick. They sound like kind of like, I don't know, fat cops in a donut shop. Like they'll run so far, but then they'll like, "Oh mate, fuck this, I've gone back."
You do go to a police station, but the mutants are actually quite thin.
Huh. Well,
interesting. One interesting mechanic I did quite like was that melee weapons won't kill them. Melee weapons will stun them to give you a chance to get away, but they won't kill them. Now you do pick up a revolver, which will kill them, and that'll kill most enemies in 2 shots. Some tougher enemies require like 4 or 5, but most basic enemies can be killed in 2 shots. So that gives you a little bit of that. I quite like the mechanic of whack him and then to sort of distract them and get yourself a little bit of away. And if you can't control, you can shoot them, but you can't the first enemy I found. I did try and take him using melee, and I was like, God, this guy is tough. And there was only when I died, and next reload it said melee weapons will stun the enemies. I was like, oh, I can't actually kill him.
I mean, I can cave his head in, but he's not dead.
Yeah, no, I can't actually kill him. And they're sort of like quite sort of, they're sort of like quite sort of, some of the enemies are quite freaky. This one's got like sort of like fingernails growing out of his head. And you gradually work your way through the town. It's a fairly linear game. You can't really go wrong. I don't think there's any point where it's like, what do I do here? It was fairly straightforward. Just follow a route and you will get to where you need to be. But again, it's all right. I mean, it works quite well. I believe they have actually. I think part of its issue was that when they first did, there was quite a few. It was quite buggy at first, and I think they fixed most of the bugs and got it sort of like ironed out and made work. And they also changed how certain sections worked. Because I definitely did not experience a lot of things that people complain about. I didn't experience, and looking at the forums, it seemed to be that they got patched, they fixed and moved a lot of stuff around. So they actually listened to us like, right, we'll try and fix this. I mean, it was enjoyable. It's actually, I did quite enjoy it. I do know there's a lot of horror games in general. No, so like particularly people's in these first four games, the last section of the game does go on a bit too long.
Yeah.
There's definitely a bit where it's like, oh, I've done this bit now, and then sort of like realize I've got to do another section. Like, really? I haven't finished yet? You're kidding me? I've got to do more.
Not quite a Cyberpunk length ending, but you know, it's getting there.
No, but but when you're just like literally walking down corridor after corridor after corridor, it's getting a bit, and they're all very similar corridors. It does get a little bit like, can this not just end now? Can I not just get to the last bit now, please?
Our survey says no.
Yeah. So it's but it's all right. I mean, it's not bad actually. I honestly say it's not. It's definitely it's review score that's gone on Steam. Its average score, which I think 62% based on ups and downs, is unfair. It's not that bad. I mean, it's not great. Don't get me wrong. It's not a fantastic game, but it's not as bad as people made out. It's definitely better than Outlast. So
Sure.
So I actually I went into it thinking I was just going to be able to take the absolute shit mick out of it and talk about how shit it was. I thought it was going to be a podcast where I'm saying you don't believe they did this in it, and getting really frustrated about how crap it was and so forth. But actually, like, this actually ain't that bad. You know, it's the levels of, apart from the sort of last one, which goes on a bit too long, they're fairly well designed. They're logical. They do a very good job of like guiding you, but not making it too overt. They're guiding you, which actually it's actually a tricky thing to do in level design, particularly level design. It's actually how do you guide the players without making them realise they're being guided. Another good example of games that did that was Vermintide. Vermintide feels like a really spawning town, and levels feel like they're really big and spawny, and like you can go anywhere. But actually, you're guided fairly by the nose of where you need to go, just through clever coups and so forth. They did a very good job, and this is sort of thing they've done. The level is actually pretty darn neat. So yeah, I really was going to give it clicking. Actually, I can't. It's not that bad. So it was interesting. I mean, I'm not sure I particularly like the ending of it. I thought it was a little bit sort of contrived, but it is an ending. And it's fair enough. But it does go on too long at the end. They could probably cut a good sort of section off the end. It would have been fine. So it's not, in my opinion, worth 16 quid. It is a sale game. Pick up in a sale and play it through then. And I think most horror fans will have a fair amount of fun playing through it. It's fairly neat.
Sure. Fair that.
Cool. One last thing I want to talk about. The reason I want this at the end, just because there's going to be massive spoilers coming up shortly. So, anyone listening or viewing or watching, if you've played, not played Cyberpunk to the end, or have an interest or are interested to know what the ends are like, now is the time to turn off, because we're about to discuss the endings and what we do and don't like about them and what we think of them. And we are going to spoil them, and we won't be holding back on spoilers on the endings. So now is the time to switch off. Bye. Right, so by who's left?
Okay.
We talk about endings. So you actually got Cyberpunk endings fairly early on. I think you did them mostly before most of the side missions, whereas I did all the side missions first, and then the ending. So I didn't do my first ending until 2 weeks ago. So, what did we think, Skazz? What was the first ending you went for?
First ending I got was suicide.
Interesting.
So, towards the end of the game, you have to go to Embers to meet, I forget what her name is.
Hanako?
That might be the one. The
Stuff like
porcelain,
that.
the porcelain cunt, as Johnny calls her. I wasn't given that many options. So here's the trick. With Cyberpunk, depending on how close you are to Johnny Silverhand, dictates how many ending options you actually get.
And what other characters you've worked with.
Yeah, I suppose. But then in my case, because I hadn't finished... Because by the time you actually work with a lot of those characters, you'd have become quite friendly with Johnny.
Yeah.
So that would open up other options anyway. Plus, the idea of... So my first one was suicide. I didn't have options to work with anyone else. I had only really been forced, I think, to let Johnny be in control once or twice. It wasn't an option that I was given to do since, for the next ending. So the idea is that a couple of the endings you can do as V. A large chunk of them you have to do as Johnny. If you haven't become friendly with Johnny, you can't do them. Okay? So I didn't have the options, which left me with Arasaka endings or suicide. My first ending was incredibly powerful. Suicide. Johnny hated my fucking guts. All the way up until I said, nah, mate, I can't do this anymore. And Johnny said, well, at least you're choosing when to go. That was the only time on the you haven't quite become friendly with Johnny Silverhand track where Johnny is actually kind to you and accepting.
He actually respects your choice.
Yes. And he'll do that regardless of how friendly you are with him, which I thought was really fucking nice because the dialogue at the end of the game changes a lot based on how friendly you are with Johnny Silverhand.
Yeah.
Even the elevator scene, when after you go into Embers, will change based on how friendly you are with Johnny.
Yeah.
So my first ending was suicide. What was yours?
So I had basically all the options available at the start. So your basic three options, so you're not counting the sequence. Your options are you either work with Arasaka and Hanako. If you've completed Panam's quest line, you then can ask her to use El Cardos to basically raid Arasaka.
Yep.
Or if you've gone all the way Johnny and you unlock Rogue sort of ending, you can ask Rogue to help you and Johnny go, and Johnny takes her and you and Rogue raid Arasaka. Which I like the fact they mirror the sort of starting quest lines because you've got a corporate, a nomad, and sort of a street cred. So you do sort of mirror the front bit. So I sort of debated. My gut told me when I played it, my gut was saying go with Panam, but my brain was saying realistically, Arasaka's probably got the highest chance of actually success here because they actually made the darn thing. So I chose going with Arasaka, and I went down that route. As soon as I got to the point where I had to go down that route, I regretted it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was like, as soon as I rang up Hanaka and said, I'm going to go and work with you, so that phone call ended, I was like, I don't want to do that. But I was like, well, I've committed, I've decided I'm going to do it now.
Yeah.
But as soon as I regretted, I thought, actually, no, that's not what I wanted to do.
Sure.
So the Arasaka ending, you basically, she basically, as you say, you had a meeting with her. The point of no return, there's a point in the game where you'll go to this Embers and the game actually says to you, right, you carry on here. This is it. You can't go back. You want to make sure you've done everything you want to do before you do this bit.
Not entirely true, but once you start that thing, you can't just go, okay, now I'm going to go do some side missions. You do that. Once you do an ending, it will reload you to just before you go into Embers. So just make that clear.
Yes, yeah. That's right. So it saves the game, and then you go in. And she basically says to you, look, come to a board meeting. You present the evidence that because you saw. So basically, the storyline of Cyberpunk is you're doing a heist. You were doing midway through the heist. You get basically of this old dude who ran Arasaka.
Saburo Arasaka.
Thank you, Saburo Arasaka. He was basically sort of his son was going to steal this relic, which is what Johnny lives on, and he gets caught up by his old dad, and his dad says, "What are you doing?" And his son murders his dad, and you see it because you're hiding. Well, cause they turn up while you're in the midway through the heist. You see this happen. You see him get killed, so you know who's committed the murder.
Yeah.
And the sort of Arasaka part is, I can remember his name. Is it Takimura?
Takimura.
Takimura.
Goro Takamura.
Who's actually probably my second favorite character in the entire game.
I liked Goro a lot.
Yeah. He seems like a really nice guy. He's probably done some nasty things, but he seems like quite a nice guy. He basically he's one who contacts you and says, I know that he was murdered. I need you to help me prove it and because his son's basically took control, I need you to take him out. And he contacts
Yorinobu Arasaka, by the way, is the son.
Yeah, Yorinobu, yeah. He contacts Hanako, whatever her name is. He contacts her in a fairly overt way. And she basically says, I think about it, I think you're right. And to be honest, she actually knows that her father was murdered. But she's like, I want to sort of push the issue. I want you to come to Arasaka and go to the board and basically say, I'm the evidence, and they will take not Sudoku. The brother, the son, they'll take him out of contention, and basically she gets into power.
Sure.
So you go there, you get took down to she basically now her agreement is she'll get rid of Johnny. She'll give you all their resources to basically remove the relic and get Johnny out of your head.
Yeah.
And basically give you your life back.
Because the idea is that the engram on the relic, a chip that's gone into your neck, it contains the engram of Johnny Silverhand, which is overwriting your brain, your very existence. So if you don't get him out, if you take it out, you die. If you leave it in, you die. And if it is possible to remove it, you better do it at any point. You better do it quickly, because the longer he stays in, the more damage he's doing to your dome.
Yeah, because it's basically converting you to be Johnny.
Yeah.
To basically make you it's designed to. I think the intention was that the person who's normally meant to put him was not meant to be alive at the time. It's meant to put him like almost a dead body, and then it rewrites and revives him, and then the person takes over. So it's all we're living on but through a dead body. I think that's the idea, but obviously you're not dead.
Sure.
Which is a problem. So you go up with her. She basically then sort of takes you to. You basically, first of all, she gets sort of put under house arrest by her brother because and you have to go bust her out, basically get her out of her house arrest, and then she'll take you to Arasaka Tower. She'll go down. You'll go to basically meet her father, and because his father's been engrammed as well, and because Arasaka sell this service they call it Secure Your Soul, where the rich people can basically pay Arasaka to back them up.
Yeah,
and so they can live at Arasaka.
They have an engram prison, or a soul prison, as they called it, named Mikoshi.
Mikoshi, yeah. It's very actually makes me think a lot of Altered Carbon, where the rich people basically live on a little chip in the back of your neck, and rich people get themselves backed up like every 24 hours. They die, they just download the previous backup. Reminds me of that. So people get backed up, and it's definitely implied that people, when they back up, they're dead as part of the backing up process. It seems to be more that sort of case where rather than actually you just go and upload a backup every so often, it seems to be like you die and you get uploaded to this Mikoshi place.
Which technically wouldn't have made sense because Saburo Arasaka was killed. And he'd made the backup of his engram before he had been.
Yeah, but generally when you say people mention that people who seem to be mentioned, they talk about who've had it done. So you come across a few like conversations where you hear people talk about who've been backed up. They are dead. The people are backed up, and we'll drop right to the end.
Sure.
So you go up to the board meeting. She actually brings up her father, his engram ghost, as it were. And he basically tells them to listen to you, and he orders them to basically take out Saburo.
Yep.
Thank you.
Oh no,
Unfortunately, there's a-
Yorinobu. Sorry, Yorinobu. Yorinobu's the son.
yeah, Yorinobu, yeah, Yorinobu. He doesn't like this idea, so he basically, shall we say, crashes the party
Yeah, just a
and
bit.
basically sends his goon to basically wipe out the board. Pretty much kills everybody, so you then have to go and basically fight your way through to get to him. Along the way, you meet Adam Smasher. Pretty much every quest line you do, you'll go, apart from the suicide one, you're going to meet Adam Smasher. You're going to encounter him, have a boss fight with him,
Yes.
finish him off, so forth. That boss I think must level, because I was level 45 when I met him. And although it wasn't a hard fight, he definitely was fairly tough. He took quite a lot of rounds from me before, and even like doing my sort of like powerful hacks on him didn't do a lot of damage. As it wasn't challenging per se, but it was he definitely took a hell of a lot of damage. He didn't do that much damage to me, but he took a lot. He was quite a bullet sponge. So I don't know whether he actually levels with you or not.
I
think
found
he
that
might do.
depending on the ending that I did, the fight was either easier or harder. When I first took out Adam Smasher, it was a cakewalk, so I beat him to death with an electric cane. Second time I went to fight him, it was a bit harder. By the time I got to the last ending, it was starting to get a little awkward.
That's interesting. So yeah, so basically I took him out, and then you find her brother. He basically just gives up pretty much there and then. She comes in and says, "Okay, we'll take it from here." And she says, "Well, off you go to have the engram moved." And you go off with a chap called Hellman, who actually designed the chip. Takes you up to their space station, and they perform the surgery. And they successfully remove the relic. And then you go through this whole montage of basically having like this after surgery test. You have like a little Rubik's cube you have to try and solve with the most bitchy doctor possible.
Yep.
Yeah, she's like, try and solve this cube, and she just shoves it into your hand. You start doing it, and if you don't like doing like 2 seconds, she just rips it out of your hand and goes, right, yep. And she's just cool. She needs a bedside manner training, that doctor. After a while, you get frustrated doing the same test, and you do actually find out on the news report. You find out that Noble has valiantly given up his body in so that Sabu can relive on again. I.e., they've had him killed.
Yep.
And put a relic in him, turned him into, and overwritten him. And you basically get to see what's all the response the world is, because people aren't too happy about that situation.
Nope.
As you can imagine. You basically keep doing this test. Eventually, you get to the stage where it's like, why aren't you letting me go? What's happening? You're not telling me anything. And you have a little bit of a tizzy fit, and you smash up the room. And then, now, if you saved him, which the game doesn't tell you can save
Just want to quickly throw out there, you don't always have to have a tizzy.
Do you not?
You can get frustrated, but if you keep doing the tests, all of a sudden Via's incredibly shocked that the shit actually worked. She wasn't just being a dick to you. She was just waiting for your brain to kind of click into place.
Oh, right, okay.
Because I never lost my temper with it. I started to get... V would sound progressively more frustrated as she was asking him the questions, as if he was doing a... what's that test from Blade Runner?
Oh, yeah, I know what you mean.
I can't remember what the machine's called now.
Oh, what's called? Yeah, I know what you mean. Where you see a tortoise.
Yeah, you're basically
back.
doing that test over and over and over again. And he slowly gets to be, and she's like, think of the first thing that I give you a word, you tell me the first thing that you say. Supposed to, it is literally the same thing from Blade Runner. It's an empathy test. Yeah. You're supposed to answer these questions. You start to sound progressively more angry as you have to keep repeating yourself. But then, when it all clicks into place, V's like, "Oh shit! It actually worked. Like I'm ready. I can go."
Oh,
you don't have to argue with her.
Yeah, I got frustrated and I smashed the room up.
Oh, there you go.
Now, I say,
okay, go on.
If the game, I think it's the only interesting game doesn't actually mark for you. There's a bit where you're with Takumara and you are attacked, and you basically are told to just leave, get out. If you turn around, you can go and save him, but game doesn't tell you. It's the only objective in the game. It's not marked.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure it's the only one that's not marked to say you can save this guy. And if you save him, he comes sees you at the end. If not, Hellman, the guides on ship, come see you. The conversation is very similar.
Sure.
Basically, they sit you down and they say, "Look."
Now, did you save him?
I didn't, because I didn't realize you could.
Okay.
Because at this point, I'm used to the game, like showing you, giving like all the optional objectives and so forth. When it didn't appear, I just thought to myself, it's obviously not a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
because the game had trained me to not think with that thing, and I was so annoyed when I found out I could have saved that. Really pissed me off.
Now, I'd like to throw out the lead into that ending actually changes as well, not just Takamura walking into the room. So when you said you chose to start that ending, Takamura will be the one that picks you up and takes you to Hanako.
Well, yeah, that makes sense.
Takamura and Hellman.
Yeah,
And Takamura will raid the house with you.
yeah.
Also, if you kill Takamura's mate, like Nobu, whatever, what's her name's bodyguard?
Odie, was it Odin or something like that?
Whatever his name was, Oda.
Yeah.
If you let him live, right, and Takamura's with you, they will both assist you in the raid against Yorinobu at the end of the game.
Which makes sense because he was her bodyguard. So
Because their soldiers will fight alongside you when the board gets attacked.
Oh, cool.
So there's subtle little changes based on what you do.
I really like that. I like the fact the game does this. All the endings have these little subtle changes.
Sure.
So at the end, they basically sit and say, "Look, we've got the relic out. It worked. Johnny's gone. He's been erased, been shredded, but it was too late. The damage it's done is so far gone. Realistically, you've got months to live.
Yeah.
Or we will let you take part for free, basically, in the Secure Your Soul program, and we'll back you up and upload you to Mikoshi, and you can basically join." Which I quite like the fact that for the whole time I was with Hanako, I thought she was going to betray me. And she doesn't. She actually keeps her end of the bargain. Not only that, they actually go as far as saying, we'll actually let you back up your soul. We'll let you do it. A service we offer to even our high-end people to so much, we'll get you do. And I quite like that, the fact that it could have easily been another she'll betray you type thing. They didn't. They say, no, we'll actually be honourable with you. And actually, I mean, she could have just said, oh, you've got 6 months to live. Tough. But that shows us all how much she must have liked you and the respect she had for you, that she actually said, no, we'll let you be backed up if you want to.
Mm-hmm.
And your choice at that point is either allow yourself to be backed up or go back to Earth, and there's a shuttle waiting for you. You can go straight to Earth and spend the last 6 months of your life living on Earth.
Yep.
I chose to be backed up.
Okay.
And again, I regretted it.
Okay.
I sort of like. I feel I regretted is the fact the fact that I couldn't really like tell my friends, because when the game endings roll, you get voicemails from all your friends.
Yes.
And you can tell that he also didn't have the opportunity to just be able to say, "Hey, look, I'm not going to make this. This is what I'm doing." Because basically, most of them don't seem to know what's happened to you.
Mm-hmm.
Which it's quite heartbreaking actually. Because like all these people, and actually, I must admit the suicide ending. That's really heartbreaking. Watching all your friends call you up.
Yes.
That is really heartbreaking. Because the suicide ending was the next ending I did.
Yes.
And full disclosure, when I'm tired, which was quite late night I did that, and when I've been drinking, I get very emotional. And there was tears at the end of that when all the voicemails were coming in, because I've been broken by them.
They rip the ever-loving shit out of you. You're called a selfish cunt. They're crying. Yeah. They're screaming at you.
Yeah. It varies a bit. Some are like, I don't know why you did it. I get why you did it. I'm really sad for you. Some are like, I mean, Hanan basically says she's going to come kill you in the afterlife.
Yeah. She was fucking furious. Judy was completely broken by it.
Yeah. Kerry as well. He's furious as well.
Mm-hmm.
That is the hardest ending. Even though I think actually it's my second favourite ending.
I loved that ending. When that gunshot went, I thought that was fucking beautiful. I literally stopped gobsmacked when I got that ending. Yeah. It was also an added bonus as well because, as I say, Johnny and I weren't friendly. So for him to accept my decision and, back me up and be with me as I did it. There was a bit of solidarity there, camaraderie there. I was like, that's fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Because everyone says Johnny Silverhand's a bit of a shithead, but in that one, he's like, dude, it's your choice. I
think he respects you. He respects you. Yes, he respects you because you're making. Respects you. I think partly because you're making your own choice, and also because the reason you made that choice, your primary reason, is that you don't want loads of people just to die for you.
Yep.
Because whatever you do, particularly if you pick one of the endings that aren't, say, the Arasaka ending, I didn't feel guilty necessarily for a lot of soldiers who died because that's what they were paid to do.
Yes.
The other endings, though, where you go in with the Aldecados and so forth, there's a lot of blood in your hands in those situations. A lot of people die,
Yeah.
and just to save you, and that has a bit of a nasty taste to it.
Yeah.
You are basically saying that you're worth more than them.
Yeah.
In that situation, and so the suicide ending, which is basically, this is I don't want people just to die for me, and I also another thing I liked about it was that you really are going out on your choice.
Yeah.
It's totally your decision. You're not being pressured by people to do it. You come to that decision all by yourself. People like saying outside saying, come help us. You've got, just saying, everybody's all pushing you, trying to get help. That one's like, no, I'm just gonna make my own choice here, and I'm gonna kill myself. I really like that ending. It's my second favorite ending.
Okay.
I really liked. So, what was your next ending then after you did the suicide one?
My next ending was Arasaka, no Takamura, and I chose to die on Earth. So both of my endings were pretty miserable in the grand scheme.
So how is that? Because obviously I didn't see this cutscene. So you just literally go on a shuttle and fly back down? Is that how it ends? Is
It just literally, you grab your bags and then, boop, gone.
Yeah.
Just cuts to the credits. There's no real flashy stuff at the end of that one.
Yeah.
At all. You don't.
Yeah.
I think you just see V walk down a corridor and then it just cuts.
Oh, cool. Just to Secure Soul ending, you basically go into the room. You have to get in the chair.
Yeah.
And you see it. Then put the stuff on. You just basically sort of hold the little medallion in your hand, just close your eyes, and that's when the game ends.
Yes. Now, it should be noted that if you choose to go back to Earth, Hanako will call you up in the credits.
Yes.
Which she doesn't normally.
No.
And
it's the only way she will, actually.
She will actually ask you if you want to do some jobs for her.
Yeah.
Because she thinks that you're useful. You've got a skill set that she wants. She doesn't want it to go to waste for the last 6 months of your life. Might as well use it whilst you got it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was an all right ending. Although I will say I didn't find that quite as impactful as the actual suicide ending.
Suicide's definitely the most impactful one by a long way.
For sure. Yeah, just literally, it just cuts to the credits. You hear people talk. Now, also, it doesn't really seem to change how those credit dialogue things happen if you call them up or not. Because as you say, you're given an option to give them a call on the old blower from the space station before you go in for your surgery or whatever. Regardless of what you do in that situation, nothing changes.
No.
At all. They will just answer you the same way as if you'd called them or not. They will not know what the fuck was going on. Because even if you call them, they're like, yeah, I haven't really got time to speak to you right now. In so many words, in a lot of cases. And then they just hang up on you and you're like, well, shit, I've got nothing.
I felt so, when I was doing that and I was bringing all these people up, because I just want someone to say something kind of nice to me. I just want to have a friendly conversation with someone. They're all just blabbing me off. And it's like, I felt so alone.
But let's be fair. You did betray majority of your friends to go with Arasaka.
You did?
Because, I mean, what's her name?
Ma'am?
No.
Judy?
No, bloody, what's her name? Misty.
Misty.
Whatever her name
is.
is.
She's not happy about you choosing Arasaka.
She's fucking furious.
Yeah.
She hates you for going with Arasaka, and so does everyone else.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, the ones who'll talk to you.
It should also be noted because when I did the suicide ending and my Arasaka endings, and both my Arasaka endings, Vic doesn't give me the option to take the extra pills. He just literally gives me a gun. It is literally Vic will pretty much imply that his option is for you to shoot yourself. Whereas if you get more friendly with Johnny, he will say, "There's some pills on the table." Some blockers from him and some of the other ones from the lassie. you make the decision. He sounds a lot more angry when you're not friendly with Johnny, and it is implied that he wants you to just go fucking shoot yourself.
I think though it's probably because that's what he sees is the only realistic way out for you.
Yes. But I just that's a subtle change based on depending on how far you've gone through this.
So many subtle changes in that ending. There's so many little changes in those endings. It's really, really nicely done. How much they tie it in. It's really nicely done.
Yes.
So
yeah, suicide was my second. Death by not siding with Arasaka.
Right. Okay. My next one, which I am going to suspect is probably this is the one my gut was going to go for. I suspect this is what a lot of players would have gone for. I also feel it's the ending that CD Projekt Red were guiding you towards, which is the Aldecado ending.
Right.
I just feel that was really because that I think that felt to me this one I played. That felt like the longest of the endings as well. There's a lot of there's quite a few there's quite a time you spend like in the prep work. So the Aldecado ending, you basically rep Panam and say, look, I want to break into Arasaka. She's like, you mad? You go, yeah, it's my only chance. And it's like, fine, we'll help you. And you go out to their place, you meet them, and they basically indoctrinate you as a proper Aldecado. They give you a jacket. They make you have there's a big party, and you go around and chat to people, and you can even like dive into the net again and have a little look around the net and sort of talk to Alt. It's a big old preamp thing before eventually you to begin your base where you're going to basically steal a massive underground drill and drill your way into Arasaka. You and Sol and Panam basically break in, and this is what I'm saying. There's a lot of blood on on V's hands, and if Johnny says this to you, you go this route, you're gonna have a lot of people dying for you.
Yeah,
and there's quite a few sort of named characters who die in this mission to save you. So in that regard, it's slightly. I mean, Sol, the big guy, the Aracana, he dies. He literally gets stomped on.
Yeah.
Here's probably one of the most gruesome deaths of the thing. He just Cole just gets smashed in by Adam Smasher.
Yep.
I suppose that works out quite logically. But yeah, you basically fight your way through to Arasaka. They get you in. You fire through. You have your battle with Adam Smasher, and then you go to Mikoshi. You get through the other sort of you sink into it. And Alt's there, who's the hacker. She's a copy of the hacker. She's not the actual person. She says that herself, and she basically separates you and Johnny like that. Boom, she's done it. But same dealio. Your body's not going to survive.
Yep.
Your choice now here is you either basically because your body has basically been adapted now for Johnny. So if Johnny takes your body over, he will actually live a normal life. So your choice is either go back to your body and Johnny will go into the net and live as an engram in the interweb, and you go back to your body, got 6 months to live, or you go into the net and Johnny goes back and basically he can live in the rest of his life. So I chose that because Johnny basically says you should go back in that situation. He basically says you should go back. So I chose to go back. And I let Johnny disappear there. We basically say goodbye to each other and I go back with 6 months to live. So you do that, and then the game ends with you and so your post ending mission is your Panam, and she and your Alcars are going to break through the border. Are you going to Arizona? I think you're going to
something like that.
Yeah, and you're going to move to the new things. And the reason I think a lot of people, it's probably the most. Even it's a vain hope. It's got some hope. She said, I know people who might be able to help you. So we're going to go there. We're going to see if they can help you basically live. I mean, It's clearly a long shot. It's clearly a long shot, but it's got a certain degree of hopefulness to it. It's out of all the endings of the game, this is the one that's got the most amount of hope to it. And it's probably the closest you're going to have to a, air quote, good ending in the game. Because
you're not the only person that has said that to me. So
yeah. In the sense that you've got potentially, it's the, disregarding the people who died, it's the happiest of the endings, but it's a very long shot happiness. and you basically move off into the sort of your new. You basically leave to start a new life with the Eldercardos, possibly hoping to save your life, or if not, you're going to live for free. Basically, you've escaped Night City, and you're going to live with them and have some freedom for the last few months of your life, and you're potentially with your love interest as well. That was my ending. That was my gut feeling. I should have gone for. That was my emotional pick.
Sure.
That's what I really wanted to go for, and that is probably my favourite of the endings. Because it's
okay.
Because it felt like it was my emotional choice, and it does have that. You know, I'm realistic that it's almost certainly no way you're going to save V. And in fact, I think from a plot point of view, it's best if he doesn't get saved. Because I think that's kind of the point of the story of the game. There's still that little twinge of hope there, which I quite liked.
Sure. Considering I now can't remember which order I got the endings in, I'll just chime in at my 2 cents on that ending. That was probably one of my least favourite.
Okay, fair enough.
I just didn't click with it at all.
Okay.
You know, this vain attempt to save your life, running away from Night City, running away with the Eldercardos. The fact that I didn't really click with the Eldercardos either. I liked Pan Am, but a lot of the other characters I didn't really give a toss about. The party prep for the mission annoyed me a bit too.
Yeah.
It just seemed really. It was a slog. It was the longest of the. It was the longest of the endings, but to me, it was too. It dragged.
See, I like the Eldercardos. I liked all the missions I did with them. I enjoyed their missions. I enjoyed sort of like. I liked the idea of the life they led, where they're working, but they were like fairly free.
Yeah, they're as free as you could be in that timeline.
Yeah. So I liked that idea. So I think that's why it appealed to me.
The groove of the Eldercardos is nice. I would love to live a nomad lifestyle. I would love to. However, I don't give a fuck about Soul at all. I didn't give a toss about joining the Eldercardos at all. It didn't sit with me. Give me a second. Give me a second. I'll be back in a second. 1 second.
Okay.
Goddamn dog. Yeah, so the Eldercardos just didn't. I don't know. I just didn't care for it.
I get that. I get that. It just they really appealed to me as a faction. They're probably the faction I liked the most out of everybody. Because everybody else is pretty nasty. They're the ones I liked the most. I like Pan Am as a character. So it just felt like there is obviously the flip side to that. It's probably one of the more selfish endings for V. A lot of people do die for him in that end.
Yes.
It is probably the most, from that point of view, it's the happier, but it's got this dark undertone of lots of people died to get you here. Lots of people had why would their lives worth less than yours? And it's hard to break. I mean, it's when you're playing a game, it's very easy to be the main character. So you tend to forget that a little bit, but you have to both actually, no, this is not quite a very dark end. Compared to all the endings you play, that's one of the worst ones, really.
Yeah.
In terms of death, in terms of just sheer body number, and innocence dying as well, because you kill a lot of people at that construction site who really had nothing to do with the situation at hand.
Yeah.
Even if they were military, so at that point they had nothing to do with what was going on. So it's still the one that sort of like. I just like the way the sort of tone it ended on. But I totally understand if it doesn't click with you. I totally understand why that would be a disliked ending. I totally get that.
Now, a lot of other people told me that's the good ending. And my mate DeWard said that he quite enjoyed that ending too. But it's like, to me, the ends didn't justify the means.
No,
to me, I would have much rather
bitten
the bullet or taken the 6 months and lived life without minimal impact, just fading away rather than having all those people get. Because I did think of it from a moral standpoint. It's like, why am I literally killing half of the Aldecaldos just for V? Because V to me wasn't all that important. He was a whiny bitch towards the end, and it's like, mate, you made this decision.
Yeah.
You're only here because you fucked up.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. He got his in that position all because of what he did.
Mm-hmm.
So I totally, utterly get that point of view. And, you know, like the ending, I still sort of like have that little yeah. It's there. I think it's fair to say there's no happy endings in Cyberpunk, which I like. There's no happy endings. Something bad happens no matter what you do.
Mm-hmm.
But that then leaves us with the not kind of secret ending, the fourth Azul ending, which was, and I'll let you do this one as I've done the other.
No, go
couple.
for it. Go.
You sure? Okay,
Yeah,
fair enough. So, your last sort of option is you let Johnny take over your body, and you go in with Rogue, and you basically use her contacts, her abilities, and you raid Arasaka, because he basically says to V, look, you don't be in charge, I'll get you where you need to go, and we'll get there, we'll get you separated from me. Look, I've done it before, I can do it again. So you have to go to Rogue, meet up with her, and basically convince her to help you along the way, and then she basically sort of comes up with a plan of how to get in, which involves stolen military transports and you break into the actual area where the board meeting happens.
Mm-hmm.
There's no board meeting at the time, but that's where you end up, and I think you actually end up crashing like right on the table and fighting your way through Arasaka. That's what tragic at the end of that is, where you meet Adam Smasher. Is he gets hold of Rogue and is about to kill her, but she has the last laugh because she throws a grenade at him and basically takes off 20% of his health, but kills herself in the process.
Yeah.
So you have to fight against, obviously, Smasher, kill him off. And then, actually, that point on, the ending sort of sequence to get into Mikoshi is virtually the same as the Aldecados, where it's a different character who's with you at the time, where you sort of stagger your way in, plug yourself in, but you're playing as Johnny, obviously, at this point as well. And then you play for the ending bits. So all the other ones, when you go into Mikoshi, you play as V, talking to Johnny. In this one, you're playing as Johnny talking to V.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all the other side. And it's also worth noting at this point, he's basically said, you should have my body. I think you should have it. Because when you discuss with him, the same sort of automation happens. Alt separates your engrams, but then says, I can't say, if you've got 6 months, if he goes back, he's got 6 months to live, or Johnny gets to live on.
Yeah.
It's the same, virtually the same conversation happens. So you, as in you're playing as Johnny's situation, you basically sort of V and sort of say, what do you want to do? And he basically says, you should take my body. I'm going to have a drink, my throat's getting rather dry.
Sure.
And if you... Bear with me one moment. That's in the throat, there we go. And interestingly, if you say to V, no, I'll go into the net, you have your body back, he actually really gets upset with you. He basically says, no, that's not what we agreed. You take my body. And so the ending there basically is Johnny leaves and he survives.
Mm-hmm.
And he basically leaves, and so you can choose to go into the net instead, but let's say Johnny decides to go back into V's body. And if he does that, he's basically got another, well, however old V is now, so like it's probably 60, 70 years ahead of him, because basically the body is designed for him now. It's been rebuilt for him.
Yes.
So he can live in forever, basically. He's got a second chance at life and redoing it all. And your epilogue is you're in a rundown apartment. There's this young lad who sort of took under your ring. You've been teaching him how to play a guitar, and you're going to give you a few errands. So you go and buy a guitar, which you basically are buying for him.
Yep. You can pick either Kerry Eurodyne's guitar or a Johnny Silverhand replica.
Yes, that's right, you can. And the second area, which is quite sweet, is you go to the place where people have all their, like, sort of graveyard. It's like sort of like
a memorial
place. Yeah. And you basically can put a little thing out for Rogue. You basically, if you picked her gun up at the at Arasaka. You pick up a gun. If you pick up a gun, you basically put the gun in her little thing and seal it away. You also put V's necklace in. It's all like so her little wall set up with V as well. Apparently, there was actually there's a bug. If you do the all guns blazing, just V and Johnny, or just V goes in, Johnny goes in, Arasaka by themselves, and you complete that, so Rogue isn't with you. If you then go choose Johnny, you still put something in they messed up, and you still put something in Rogue's grave box, and then she calls you. It's a little mistake they made. They haven't. They may have patched it now. But yeah, you end up getting called by Rose. She survives, but you end up still putting something in her grave. And then basically, you as Johnny decides just to leave Night City and start again.
Yep.
And you get on a bus and off you go, and you saw like it's basically a second chance at Johnny. I had mixed feelings about that ending because it is sort of like, I don't know. I wasn't too super keen on it. I get sort of happy for Johnny, but. It just and it didn't actually sit too right with me either.
Why is that then? Go on.
I don't really know, Skazz. It just didn't feel right. I'm trying to I can't really place what I didn't like about it. It felt wrong that basically because V didn't want Johnny's head. Yes, he didn't know what he was going into. And now Johnny's, but he's basically had to give up his life. He voluntarily gave up his life, and he gets pissed off you chose no. I don't know, it just feels. Johnny died years ago. He's dead. In my mind, he's dead. He may live on an engram, but he is dead. And now he's taking over V's body. It just feels like, is he Johnny? Is he just an AI? It's now It's very, very depending on how the game is very ambiguous about what engrams actually are. Are they actually like, for intents, are they the person's Arasaka Sakuya soul, or are they just simply an AI backup, an AI replica? And if you sit towards more that it's an AI replica, which is the way I tend to sit on the situation, you've basically just got a robot Johnny walking around in a flesh suit. And it just feels slightly wrong. It just didn't sit right with me, that ending.
I preferred that one to the Pan Am ending.
Fair enough.
Because to me, the game is all about second chances. The whole game is about second chances. And V admits there's no chance for him. There's no point anymore. That he and Johnny have become friendly enough that he sees that if he goes back, it's just a waste of time. He's going to die anyway. He's come to accept his fate. So if he hands over the body to Johnny, which it's now entombed to, Johnny, after having a fucking hell of a character readjustment, a hell of a personality readjustment, gets another chance at life. He gets to take all of the lessons that he learnt from V and apply them to the world from basically the point that V gives up until the time that body gives up. Yeah. He can still continue to do good, and does so. The fact that you actually see how much of V's personality has rubbed off on Johnny. Because when V and Johnny fight, depending on how you do that ending, Johnny will say, dude, what the fuck is all this about? You sound like a dickhead. He's like, oh yeah, well that must be something I got from you. Johnny then lectures him, and V's like, well, where the fuck did that come from? Is that one of your old school fucking ways of thinking? He's like, actually, no, mate. I learnt that from V. I learnt that from you, like fucking way back in the day, before you let Night City fucking corrupt you, before you became a selfish twat. And Johnny's like, what the fuck are you doing? He said, you have literally become me. You've let the world poison you. I've taken on your best traits. What the fuck are you doing to yourself? You used to be loyal. You used to care. You used to want to do the right thing no matter the cost. And now you're just being a twat. That kind of stuff really hit hard for me to see that Johnny he realized he threw away his life. He realized that he'd fucking used people. And Johnny's like, if it weren't for you, V, you are literally my only friend. We were forced together. But we are stuck together, but you have chosen to accept me. Even my closest friends in my actual life hated my guts. They couldn't stand being around me, and yet now you're willing to make this sacrifice for me. They became friends. Johnny changed. He had a second chance. He actually cared for V, which was something that Johnny had never done with anyone else prior. He was a selfish asshole. That ending shows character development, and a lot of it.
Yeah, I like that interpretation.
In near enough every other ending, or every other variant to that, V is an arrogant twat. A selfish twat that just there's nothing that comes of it. The chance is wasted.
No, I like that interpretation.
So
Do you like it?
Do you want to go what the other variant is then?
Oh, the other one was So
you've just said that if you go in if you choose to do it as V, you take over the afterlife, which is the pub. You become the big man of Night City. I thought that was shit, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I didn't like that ending either.
Now, that ending does change depending on how you get there. So if you go all guns blazing with Johnny, so if you do the suicide run, so there is a secret ending, secret ending that you can get where you and Johnny go on a suicide run without the Aldecaldos, without Arasaka, you just and without Rogue, you go in and you win. If you die, that's the suicide ending.
Yeah.
Right? If you win, if you choose to let V live, Rogue survives in the afterlife at that ending. In that ending, when you get King of the Afterlife, Rogue is still there.
Yes.
Which was I thought was quite neat. But get that ending, you have to be an absolute cunt. And so I didn't manage to actually get that one on my playthrough. No. Because you have to basically be a piece of shit to Johnny. He's just realised he wasted his life, and then you kick him whilst he's down, and I thought that was such a dick thing to do, I didn't do it. That's the only way you can apparently get that suicide ending.
It's based on what you say to him. In there's a bit where you go to a oil field and find where his remains are.
Yeah.
Basically, at certain dialogue options, virtually unlock the ending.
Yeah.
And what's interesting, to get the ending, you then have to, when he gives you the option on the roof, you have to sit there for like 5 minutes.
Yes.
And then he'll actually then say, actually, there's this other option we can do.
Your silence speaks volumes to me. Let's fucking do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't particularly like that ending. It definitely felt the weakest. It's called Path to Glory. It definitely felt the weakest of the endings because it's very short compared to the other ones. There's not a lot happens. You basically get up, get in a cab, go to Half-Life, speak to a guy, and then next you're on a space shuttle and you just jump out the shuttle and float towards a space station.
Yeah, because you're going to rob them, aren't you?
Yeah. So you're just carrying on, just doing what you do.
Yeah.
Right towards the end. It definitely felt the weakest of the endings. I wasn't too keen. I definitely wasn't too keen on that one. It definitely was. Yeah, no. But I think for me, the two preferred endings: Aldecardos or Suicide.
Sure,
they're probably my sit towards top. The others, I'm not going to rank the others actually because they're all sort of those ones that sort of appealed to me. The others were all a bit different. I've regretted for different reasons, but they're the two that sort of sat top of me. I would say the most powerful ending from a story point of view was definitely the Suicide one.
Yes. Yeah. I agree. That was
and the weakest is Path to Glory.
Yeah. The ending where you literally put a bullet in your head before you even go to Arasaka. I mean, literally jaw dropped to the floor. I was like, holy shit. Yeah. And the voicemails from your friends afterwards. Fucking hell. And because I hadn't met River and all that at that point, mine were quite short.
Yeah.
Jesse's mum was fucking furious. Judy was fucking furious. Pan Am was, well, Judy was in bits, and then Pan Am was just fucking like aggro as fuck. That was
She
a
was really pissed off.
That was a fantastic ending, and because of how I'd done it, they hadn't gotten to know me all that well, so they didn't know V was sick.
Yeah.
In my canon, so because obviously in yours you'd already beaten Judy's ending, you'd already beaten Pan Am's ending. They already knew you were unwell.
Yes.
They already knew the relic was killing you. In mine, they didn't. So if I just killed myself for no reason.
From their point of view, yeah.
So,
Panam, you get the same ending with Panam, whether she...
Yeah, regardless of whether or not she knows, but canon-wise, for me, that's what made it that much more impactful, because there was no actual reason. They didn't know why I taught myself. For you, it would have probably been like, oh my god, I was such a selfish prick. You had more kind of rapper to it. It had more of a hit to me because I just did it and they didn't know.
Yeah. I quite like how the voice messages did sort of play well within the characters as well. I mean, you know, like River, if you complete River's music, commits suicide, he basically sort of says, you know, he basically he's sort of like, he doesn't much say I respect it, but he's more like he understands. He's not angry with you. He's just like, you know, I understand it. I know someone else did it before. Best cop on the force we ever had, and he did the exact same thing, killed himself. And he sort of like, he understands.
Yeah.
Misty sort of, she says she sort of understands why you did it. He's not happy about it. Panam's a fighter. She's her whole character is she doesn't give up. She just fights. So her reaction is spot on for her. It's
for sure.
And also she loses a lot of people, and a lot of people in her life she's been abandoned by that. She got kidnapped by the Aldecados, got back in. One of her best friends gets killed. Lots of shit happened to her, and then her, particularly as I'd romanced her as well, it's like her lover just committed suicide. Someone who got very close to her, because I think at one point she's actually, if you do romance, I think at one point she says she doesn't like getting close to people because they tend to walk out on her.
Yeah, she really struggles with dealing with her feelings, especially when it comes to love and all. She can handle, you know, aggro. She can handle, you know, a blokey joke kind of thing. She's got kind of a guy way of dealing with her feelings.
Yeah.
She's very, very self-conscious when it comes to getting close to people, and she's got no confidence. She'll beat the shit out of you in a fight. But my fucking God, if you were to hug that woman, she'd break down in a heartbeat.
Yep. And that felt impactful to me because obviously I'd gone close to Alden Manston. I basically sort of said, I won't abandon you.
And then you did it. Yep.
And that really hit home. That really hit home. Just like you know, Jackie's mum obviously rings up and she's prays for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt sorry for her because you were basically almost like a surrogate son to her.
Yeah.
And she's basically lost both her children effectively in a short space of time. I imagine you hadn't done Kerry Eurodyne's missions by the time you did the suicide one.
No.
So you don't so that he gives you a voicemail and he calls you a shit.
Yeah.
He basically says, did you not think about anybody else? Did you not think about us?
Yeah.
Did you not think about your friends? And he's not happy about you either. He gets really pissed off. But he's had a lot of heartbreak in his life as well. So again, it's all ties with characters. But a very good way of actually the characters react how you'd expect them to react.
Yes.
They were very consistent in the characterization, and it's if they turn Cyberpunk into a film, that's the ending I think I would want to go down.
Yes.
In all honesty. Although it would be a very it's in some ways a very anticlimactic ending, but from a story point of view, it's the most strongest one.
Yeah, well, because V's not exactly he's not a very important character. He just isn't.
No,
he's the vessel to push the story along. The story would have likely gone the same way had it have been in Jackie's head.
Yeah,
if Jackie had have kept the relic in his head, he'd have lived.
That's that. You know, that is the real. That's something I was surprised. I don't think they ever actually mentioned. I don't think they ever mentioned that actually. Because I thought basically they condemned Jackie to death without realizing it.
Yep.
Because he took the relic out, and I don't think that's ever mentioned in the game that if Jackie had kept it, he'd been healed in the situation. I don't think they might do, but I can't remember them mentioning that.
No, I don't think they did. Now, also think about it. Jackie's a lot more chill than V. Could you imagine him with Johnny in his head?
Ooh.
How the fuck he would have coped with that?
I think Johnny would have gone mad.
Probably, yeah.
Like, quiet Choom.
Yeah, fucking, I just because I loved Jackie's character, and it's unfortunate the way he went out.
Yeah,
But that's partly the other reason why I like all the stuff to do with Johnny towards the end, because when he started to have that character change, it's like, dude, you'd have never done this to Jackie.
no.
You promised the world so much, and you're just going to throw it away because you're going to be selfish. I really liked the character development of Johnny towards the end.
Yeah,
He really fucking did change.
he does. He does. They do have a problem with because they do have a trouble with when you do the side missions. His characterization doesn't quite follow true in the side missions because they obviously don't know quite which way to go and they haven't quite finished. So sometimes you'll be like, Johnny's warming up to you, then you'll do a side mission. He basically calls you a cock and gets quite aggressive, and he acts like original Johnny. So his side missions are a bit inconsistent, which is a bit of a shame. But actually, overall, it's not a big deal overall. But yeah, I'd say actually, I like the characters and all the characters. I pretty much like all the characters side, but I like they did a very good job of rounding the people out. You get an idea what they're like and how they react, and you get an idea just by talking to them what their past is like without even them going into detail. You can get a feeling from them. They did a very good job, and yeah, I honestly, it's one of my most favorite games I've played in the last 10 years.
Yeah, sure.
Easily. So,
well, like I say, when I first played it, I didn't like it just because it was very much Skyrim and Fallout with a cyberpunk coat of paint. By the time I got to the end of it, I was really enjoying it. By the time, because I think the Elder Caldos mission was one of the last ones I did. By the time I got to the Elder Caldos mission, I wanted it over because I'd already, in my opinion, I'd already had the best endings.
Yeah.
However, I did go through it again to get the Takamura appears at the end of the game ending.
Yeah.
So I had a whole separate playthrough on my run. But there are so many little things that change based on what you do and how you talk to people. They might not be huge things, but they make your experience unique to you.
Yeah.
It'll be very difficult to get the same playthrough twice. As I've experienced, because as I say, I saved Takamura the second time through. And I picked up so many different quests because of a handful of unique dialogue options that I'd made. It was opening up entirely new backstories, meeting whole new characters. It was neat. It was really, really well done. I think Pondsmith did a cracking job with it, despite what people say. I thought it was for the most part, well written, unlike most RPGs. I mean, if you look at, say, Fallout 3 versus Cyberpunk, I think they did a much better job tying up loose ends than Bethesda did. There's glitches galore in it, but then a game of that size, it's to be expected.
But I'm prepared to forgive the glitches for the storyline.
Yes.
I don't mind a glitchy game if the other parts of it balance it out, and that's fine. And that's what this game does for me. There aren't many games that as soon as I finish and I've finished it now, because honestly, as soon as I finish, I sit down and go, I'm really sad I finished that. That it doesn't happen to me very often. Most games like, oh, I finished it. Oh, that's good. Yep, done. But I literally looked at it. I saw the credits ran for the last time. Last set of voicemails come through, and I quit the game. Went back to the main menu. Just looked. I thought, oh,
it's over.
I finished it. It's over. I don't know what to do with myself now. It's like if you've read a book series and you got to the end of it, or a TV series you've been really into, and you watched the last episode, and you're just like, oh. It's the first. It's been a long time since I had a game do that to me.
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah.
Despite what people say, CD Projekt Red, you did a pretty good job with Cyberpunk.
They did a really good job. They did a very good job. It's just it needed at least it needed another 6 to 12 months of polish.
Yes.
Is what needed. But then now they've patched to version 1.3, they've fixed most of the stuff. One thing they finally changed in 1.3, which I was so thankful for, they finally did it, was when you get in a vehicle, the map zooms out on the top right.
Right.
So you can actually see a turning coming up before you reach it.
Oh, fair enough.
Because the original map was like, oh, there's a turning there. Oh, I'm going too fast. Bye.
No, I didn't really have a huge amount of trouble with that, to be honest with you.
I was going too fast all the time. Quite like we were alive.
Yeah, I suppose. But like, I don't know. Because I didn't play it once the new patch came out. I'd already finished by that point. A lot of people are telling me, oh, but we should really have more V story. More V story.
What do you mean more V story?
They want to see how the last 6 months pan out. I was like, if they put in DLC for those last 6 months, I will literally change it from that was a pretty solid game to that's a piece of shit. They've already got some pretty solid endings there. Don't ruin them.
I mean, the endings basically tell you what he's going to do for the last 6 months. You know, Path to Glory, he's just going to carry on as being doing what he does best, just doing gigs.
It's because some people want to have the answer from the Aldecaldo's ending. Does he live? It's like, that's open to interpretation. No. That's up to you.
That's the point. That ending loses its
value
power.
if you add on extra shit. And that's what I tried to say to people. It's like, stop fucking with it. Yeah. They don't need to add anything more to the main story. The main story is done. Any
DLC they add in needs to be put, well, it will be, because it's going to be before the ending. Because there's DLC planned for it. Free DLC. We've already had a first one. We've got a new jacket. Yeah, that was the first bit of DLC has landed. You get a new jacket, a new car, and Johnny has a different outfit. That was the first DLC it landed for 1.3. I was like, oh.
Beautiful.
But any more DLC that comes, has to be set before the ending, because I don't want all the endings are either end on just the right note, or they've got some ambiguity. The Alco's also got the ambiguity to it, but that's how it should be. If they make Cyberpunk 2078, I don't want to be any mention of what happened to V afterwards.
Yep.
Mention, by all means, put like say something like, oh, he was like one of the last up and coming stars of sort of like the city, and then just disappeared.
Don't want to know,
because that covers everything. Then
there better not be a 2078.
Oh, when there'll be the next one.
No,
wouldn't surprise me at all.
No. If you want to have more stories in that world, that's what the pen and paper RPG is for. If they make another game like that, they are fucking it up. Something chronic.
As long as you don't, I think that as long as you don't rely too much on the storyline beats from this one, you steer clear of them.
Because the story is based on Cyberpunk 2013.
So they would have to basically develop their own things. They'd have to develop their own.
CD Projekt Red can't write to save their lives.
Well, then you get what's his face on board and get him to do it for you.
Like Mike Pondsmith.
Yeah, get him to do it for you.
Yeah, but he did this one.
I'm going to do another one.
But he based it entirely on the world that he'd already done.
Well, then he's got some creativity. He can do his own thing. Then he can do something else.
He's done it. It's done. Well, it's over.
He can do more.
No, it's over. It's like flat out. If they make another one, it's over. They've ruined it.
Well,
because seriously read the rule book for Cyberpunk 2013 and Cyberpunk 2020. He has literally pulled the main characters from fucking stacks of the books that have already been written and slotted them into a game in the relevant timeline and then made a game on it. He's used them. Kerry, fucking Johnny, all these characters, Boa, Morgan Blackhand, fucking Adam Smasher, they're all in the books. He didn't make new characters for this world. No. They're from the book. He's used it. It's done.
Never say never. I mean, until they actually do anything, you can't judge them in advance. until, I mean, they can still create, if they create, it's still quite possible they can create a cracking story.
No, but
set in
what
the
I'm
same
saying
world.
is
You can't just assume it'll be bad.
to do a 2040, a prequel, rad, right? But he's already tied up all the loose ends for all the characters he created. He's done it.
Let's see what they come up with if they do something. Don't judge them before they've done it.
I'm going to, because that's like 30 years of material that he's nicely wrapped up. I've seen what happens when creators go, I finished my story, and then they go, let's make more. No. You've done it. Make a prequel if you have to, that goes through one of the wars. Don't continue on from the ending of the Night City stuff. You've done it. Yeah. Like, you established these characters back in the 80s. Right? Their stories have now ended. You've taken all of your main characters. And you threw in all of the references to the rulebooks. It's done. You know, fucking go back further. A bit between where Johnny gets fucking relicked and before V turns up. You've got fucking years of material between 2020 and 2077. You've got all that time. Don't make it after 2077. So I'm saying, make it happen before you wrap up all that shit.
Let's see what they come up with. I'm sure there'll be another Cyberpunk game coming. I can't think there won't be. So let's see what they come up with, and I'll judge them on the final. I'll judge them on what they create, not on what they might do. So we'll see what they come up with. But there. Right, so I think we've covered all the endings off. I'm glad we had a chat about the endings. I want to talk to you about them since I did them all. Yeah,
there was 7, weren't there, I think?
Sorry?
There were 7 total, weren't there, I believe?
Yeah, it depends how you split them up. The way I've always seen it is there's like... I saw it as like 3 main endings, which is Arasaka, Aldecado's all going into Rogue. Then you've got they split down into Save V, Save Johnny, and then you've got the special ones like the suicide ending and the storming the place. So and then there's a lot of crossover there, but I suppose you could split. It depends how you split them down, really. I suppose you could say 7 endings. It depends really how you count them. But there's a lot of crossover and a lot of.
Oh yeah, for sure. But they still have 7 overall results.
Yeah.
Do you side with Arasaka and get copied? Do you side with Arasaka and then just say, no, fuck it, I'm going to rot?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but it's honestly, it's good game, good endings. Overall enjoyable game.
Play the pen and paper RPG.
Indeed. Right, so that's everything from myself. Is there anything else from you, Skazz? We wrap up.
That's everything.
All right. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening. If you've carried on listening to us through Cyberpunk, you can join us on our next podcast on Saturday, the 25th of September, 2021. You can also join us on our games night this Tuesday on the 13th. We are playing a new game, Pummel Party, which I need to actually calibrate. Get the little set up. We'll be playing that on Tuesday, so you can join us at roughly 20:30 GMT plus 1. You can find our website. I think you said cyberpunk.com. You can find our website.
We made that.
Yeah, randnerds.co.uk. Oh, I tell you one thing I did find myself doing. I'm writing my next D&D game.
Yeah.
And I made an assassination skill called the Silent Hand.
Oh,
and going through, and then I found myself writing it. And then all of a sudden, I didn't notice after I thought, "Hang a second, when did my assassination skill got its name changed to Silver Hand?" I don't remember changing it to Silver.
Good old Johnny.
It must be his engram's got. He's got his engrams got on there. You see, that's the trouble.
That's it. I liked Johnny towards the end. I thought that was. Great character development. I hated him at the start, and I liked him at the end. That doesn't normally happen for me, and that was really good. Don't fuck with it.
Yeah, Keanu Reeves did a good job with Johnny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, apparently he had a good time with it.
Yeah, apparently they sort of approached him, not expecting him to say yes, and then he did.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently he like was recording Johnny between his like filming The Matrix. So yeah, but yeah, so enjoys that. So if not, we'll look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks. I've been the Suffolk Ram,
Skazz.
and we'll look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks' time.
Cool. Ram should probably have mentioned that Games Night will be streamed on twitch.tv/Skazz,
Oh, yes.
SK4 ZZI0US.
Or twitch.tv/the Suffolk Ram.
Which is I just want to throw out there, it's also a shame that Zaber doesn't stream his view, but maybe soon.
Maybe one day I'll convince him to do it.
Yeah, bless him.
And if we do, there'll be a link to it. Nice. So until then, see you in the future, guys.
Take it easy, guys.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.
Also, just quickly, Peter, fantastic improv skills, and Thomas.
Oh,
Hi.
Hi, Middlemeister.
Well, literally, only just happened right now, son. But you're a bit late. You know.
Yeah.
You missed the rants. But I hope you're doing good, dude.
Hi, lads. Bye, Tom.
Like literally right at the end. Hi. Bye.
Well,
Nailed it.
there. Right.